is exactly where you want to be listening to us. It's BK and Ferrario on 101 ESPN.
Swinging a ground ball. Fair ball down the third base line. One run is in. Here comes Real Muto. Crawford's being waved home. The Phillies are within one of the tying runs at second. It's a three-run double for Edmundo Sosa. Swing and a shot through the hole to left side. Edmundo's around third. He's coming home. He's going to score. The Phils have wiped away a four-run deficit. They've tied it at 4. Fly ball, left center field. That's well struck. On the run is Fermin out toward the track. He missed it. It's bouncing around. One run is in. Here comes Sosa heading home. The throw by Wynn is not in time. The Phils have won it. It's a walk-off for Alec Bohm. They win it 7-6 here in the bottom of the 10th inning. They've won 7 in a row.
Yeah, I feel bad for Riley right now. This guy's given us a really good year, and the last 2 outings obviously hasn't gone his way. But he's our closer, and that's Riley's game. I'm not bringing Gracef or anybody else in that game. He's got to be able to finish on his own.
Alongside Tanner Hendrickson and Bradford Bruns, I'm Brandon Kiley. Alex out today. He'll be back in tomorrow. Cardinals lose yesterday by a final of 6-4. That was a tough one, T-Bone. That was the kind of game that you cannot lose if you're going to make it to October. And it followed up a game on Friday that was devastating as well. Now, they played pretty well over this weekend. Well, they played pretty well on Friday and Sunday this weekend. They found a way to lose a couple of times in games that you probably could have or should have won. And this is that fine line that you walk when you are in the spot that the Cardinals are in. They're thin, man. They are a thin roster. And you got the news over the weekend that Dobbins is going to be out for a little while. Not sure exactly what the timeline looks like there. Andre Palante out for what appears to be the minimum stay of 15 days on the injured list. Your bullpen was fried. You don't really have obvious alternatives. You don't have that Memphis shuttle that you'd like to have. Your option is Ryan Fernandez, which, that's kind of it. That's what you got right now. And you look at the lineup, man, they're playing down a couple of guys for 2 days over the weekend. Everson Pereira had the hand issue. Mason Wynn has a thumb issue that he's getting an MRI on at some point today. Hopefully that comes back clean, but otherwise, it goes fast, man. And you could feel the loss of Mason Wynn over the weekend defensively. You could feel the loss of Kyle Leahy being able to go an extra inning or 2 yesterday, which would have been really nice. And unfortunately, what it amounts to is you're now 5+ games back in the wild card race. And I'm not trying to be overly dramatic here today, but it's just the reality that's facing them. It felt like the opportunity to get into this race slipped out of their fingertips over the course of the weekend, T-Bone. It sucks. It's not the end of the world. It's been a successful year, but if we're just going to break down for a moment what happened in that 3-game series since we left the air on Friday, boy, that was as deflating as any series that I've seen from the Cardinals this year. Doesn't mean they played horribly from start to finish, but it was deflating nonetheless.
Yeah, it kind of feels like the final nail in the coffin for them for the playoff race because of what you said. They fall back to 5+ games out of the wild card race. And the one thing I think they just couldn't have happen outside of injuries, which occurred, but the one thing they couldn't have happen in this race was they couldn't go to Philadelphia and get swept, right? At a minimum, you probably had to get a game in that series, and they had a chance to win 2 of the 3 games in the series, right? I mean, Saturday was a lost cause. Quinn didn't really have it. Bullpen was fried. Like, there was nothing that was really going to lead to you winning that ball game. Friday, you had every opportunity, and yesterday, you should have won. I mean, you got to 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th inning. You had a 4-run lead, and you end up giving off the walk-off shot from Kyle Schwarber. Yeah, I'm with you. Like, that was a deflating weekend, and then you add on top of it, you get blindsided by injuries to a pitching staff that was extremely thin. And we talked about the impact that the JoJo Romero injury had when he was a Cardinal to the bullpen. All right, well, now hone in on the starting rotation and losing 2 arms when Kyle Leahy, though it's not injury, might as well be operating as like 50% a starter, right? On the innings limit that he's on, they're running with like 2 starters right now, 2.5. We'll give Leahy half the credit for being a starter, and it's not any of his fault. He went from a bullpen arm to a starter. This roster is extremely thin, and we knew that. If we were being honest with ourselves at the very beginning of the year, we knew that. But until you see injuries, until you see inning limits start to hit, and you add in the fact that they sold at the deadline, you're really feeling it now as to how hard it's going to be for them to get through the next month of the season.
314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line to get involved in the show. You can check us out on YouTube, as always, at youtube.com/101ESPN-STL. We'll get into this more coming up later on today, but Buck Hogg says, let's hear how this loss isn't squarely pinned on Oli. Because your guys have to execute. Like, at a certain point, your dudes have to be good. And Riley O'Brien gave up 5 hits and 6 earned runs. I mean, what's the plan there? Like, you have already in that spot gone to Justin Brule, Luis Gastelum, George Soriano, Ryan Stanek. Your options if you don't want Riley O'Brien in the game. Fernandez is down. Probably you could have gone to Caleb Ferguson, maybe Strzelecki, and probably Graceffo. Those are your 3 options coming out of the pen. How many of those options do you feel in that spot are better than Riley O'Brien?
Yeah, not great. No.
I mean, let's be real. Like, they're just not good options. You are playing with one hand tied behind your back. JK2000 says Ollie should be fired today. I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's just a ridiculous statement. Like, it's nonsense. I understand people are frustrated. They're upset. It was a really bad weekend by the Cardinals when it comes to the overall win-loss record. I'll say this, and I said this to T-Bone before the show today. If they had won 2 out of 3, I would still feel bad today because of the pitching injuries. This weekend, the stuff that mattered most was not what happened on the field. It was what happened away from it. You're potentially, we'll see what happens today. Fingers crossed they get good news, but it's possible they end up being without Mason Wynn for a couple of weeks. They're already without, it's not a huge deal, but they're without Everson Pereira for the next 2 weeks. They're without 2 of their starters, Hunter Dobbins and Andre Palante. And I don't know where they turn for those spots in the rotation. For one of them, it's going to be Quinn Matthews, which you enjoying that experience so far? Blake Snell-esque, would you say?
Yeah, it's very Blake Snell-esque.
Really? Would you say that?
Yeah, but it's like...
When I watch Blake Snell, I don't see him get hit very often.
No,
so that's the thing that I feel a little different about.
You're missing the keyword esque there. It holds a lot of value there.
The only thing that I've noticed that is similar to Blake Snell so far is that...
It doesn't go very deep?
There are occasional strikeouts, not nearly the swing and miss, but occasional strikeouts, and he doesn't go deep into games. But other than that... he throws lefty.
I can tell you're trying to get under my skin, but I feel like I described Quinn Matthews to a T by saying Blake Snell-esque, which meant the esque is he's about 70 to 60% of Blake Snell.
Opposing batters were going deep. Maybe we got confused.
Yeah, to me, I just don't see that. I see 12 hits in his first 2 outings against him. And that's Blake Snell doesn't do that.
Yeah, but it's the esque. You seem to be, it's the presence of the esque.
Yeah, I would say it's like 20% Blake Snell.
Okay, well, I mean, depending on your value of the esque, it could be 20, it could be 60. I think the way I described him, and I said he probably would struggle when he got up here, is, hey, this guy's going to walk a lot of guys. Hopefully he strikes out a decent amount. Now, the hits I didn't really see coming, but I think I described him pretty well as a good warning for people.
Waterloo dad Brad. Quinn Matthews is a stud. He's still young. He's not reached his potential BK. I'm not worried about Quinn Matthews. Long term, I think he's going to be fine for you. I do think that there are some reasons for optimism here. If you're a Cardinals fan, there are also reasons for pessimism, though. He's not that young. He's going to be 26 years old next year. He's been in the minor leagues for a number of seasons now, and this is basically what his profile was at the minor league level. He's going to struggle with command. He's not going to get super deep into games because he's not overly efficient, and there will be days where he just doesn't have it. Now, an encouraging sign from the weekend, he got you through 5. That really mattered because eventually you're going to need him to just wear it. There will be days where he doesn't have it and he's got to grind through the start. He did that for you on Saturday, and that is something worth being optimistic about. Basically, everything else about the start was disappointing. Like, there was almost nothing else I can point to say, yeah, he did this pretty well on Saturday. He just wasn't good. And then yesterday, you got Kyle Leahy, who was awesome, but unfortunately, he's on an innings restriction right now, or a pitch count, however you want to look at it. And he got you 63 pitches through 4, 2 hits, no earned. And that means that you have to go to your bullpen earlier, which ultimately led to them having what happened in that spot. If you're able to get another inning or two out of Kyle Leahy, maybe you just go to like Gastelum, Stanek, and O'Brien, and then you have Soriano or Brule to go to in the event that O'Brien runs into trouble in that inning. But they didn't have that because they had to go to their bullpen early. That's not an Oli decision so much as a front office decision that Oli is then going out there and executing on the field. So you want to be mad at Oli today? Feel free. That's part of the job. This was about the Cardinals players just not playing well enough over the weekend.
Yeah, and their lack of depth. I mean, I think those two things are the things that really killed them this weekend. I mean, you mentioned it. I mean, the fact that you don't have another arm that you can trust to come out of that bullpen when you see O'Brien struggling. I think it's fair some criticism on the letting O'Brien throw 40 pitches, but when I look at the bullpen and go, okay, well, my options are Graceffo and maybe Ferguson, who walks the world in a scenario where the bases were already loaded. You just didn't have any good options, right? And that's the depth that we're talking about. At this time of the year, your bullpen, if you're going to be a playoff team, has to run like 5 to 6 guys deep. And right now, there's runs, what? Maybe 1, maybe 2, depending on the day. They're just too much of wild cards. I think part of that is their bodies are starting to give out on themselves because they're not used to going a full season in O'Brien and in Soriano. I mean, they've talked about potentially trying to manage the workload for Soriano. So you've got all these factors of managing workload for guys. Well, you can't push for a playoff spot if that's the case, right? You're not at 100% right now. You're almost playing with one arm tied behind your back. So their lack of depth, lack of players executing, it's the reason they got swept in Philadelphia, and it's the reason they're out of the playoffs.
Yeah, and now it's over.
Yeah.
All right,
football starts next weekend, boys.
That
Woo-hoo!
is one of the things, man. We thought this season could have the potential to be a disaster. I remember before the year, I think Vegas set the over-under at like 62.5 or 72.5, something like that.
Yeah.
They're at 66 wins right now, and we've still got 30 games left to play this season. So this could have gone way worse in 2026. I'm not telling you that has to make you feel good today, because you just watched that over the weekend, and the last week has been exhausting. Like, the games that they're losing, every single one of them basically has been, oh my God, how did that just happen? And so you leave the game feeling mentally, physically, and emotionally drained. And today is nice to have just an off day to reset yourself and to get back on the horse tomorrow with Matthew Liberatore on the mound.
Oh.
Against a last place squad. Okay,
all
coming
right,
back
all right.
home.
Hey, Chris Bassett stinks too.
Okay.
Those are terrible.
And then you've got the Pittsburgh Pirates, who Jim Bowden said today, hey, don't count them out.
Yeah,
They're still in the playoff race.
Yeah, I disagree, Jim. I think they're kind of done.
The schedule is pretty wide open. If the Cardinals were able to figure this out and it's a true 15-day stint on the IL for Palante and Quinn Matthews is able to rebound and they somehow figure out what to do over these next start or two for Andre Palante, I suppose you could get yourself back into it. But as of today, I'm not counting on that. I'll count the first, 132 games of the season as a success. They got us to football season. That's all we were asking for this year, T-Bone.
Yeah, can I ask for one more thing from the Cardinals? Can I not watch Miles Michaelis take this spot? There's a bunch of bad options out there. That's the one I don't want to see. That's my only request from the Cardinals to the Cardinals front office.
What about Taijuan Walker? He's still out there?
At least I haven't seen him really be bad here. So, yeah, I'll take him
Has
over
he signed
Miles
anywhere?
Michaelis. I don't think so.
I'm here for it.
Baseball.
I am here for it.
I would not say not sign him because he probably hasn't picked up a baseball in a very long time.
Yeah, I don't believe that he is signed with anybody.
I'll take Lance McCullers, though.
Why
or
not?
Michael Lorenzen. Yeah, why not? That should be the theme of the next week.
Oh, he might have. Did he sign with the Angels?
Oh, R.I.P.
Michael
Looks like
Lorenzen
he might have
is.
signed with the Angels.
When?
Let's take a look. He has been... Oh, nope, hasn't pitched since June.
All right,
Did
he's
pitch
available.
for the Angels briefly.
Oh.
Didn't go all that well, but he pitched for them nonetheless. All right, alongside T-Bone and Bradford, I'm BK. Coming up in 15 minutes, we got to talk about an owner in the NFL who had some bad boy behaviors over the weekend, and we'll get into that coming up in about 15 minutes. But next, we learned some valuable information over the weekend about the team's future at shortstop. We'll talk about that next here on 101 ESPN.
You can now listen to 101 ESPN on demand. Get caught up on all our shows and podcasts at 101ESPN.com or on the 101 mobile app. 101 ESPN podcasts are presented by the Schaefer Door Company. ESPN has your shot to score a pair of passes to Holiday World and Splash and Safari. Keep summer going with a summer wind down culinary fest at Holiday World and Splash and Safari now through September 13th. Enjoy incredible food, local wines, and all your favorite rides and slides. Find your chance to win a pair of free passes right now at 101ESPN.com or on your 101 mobile app. Savor the season and get tickets at holidayworld.com. They are St. Louis. It's BK and Ferrario on 101 ESPN.
Alongside T-Bone and Bradford on BK, it's BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. It was bound to happen at some point. Might as well get it out of the way early. Cardinals learned some valuable information over the weekend, T-Bone, about the team's future at shortstop. Mason Wynn is dealing with a thumb issue right now. Hopefully everything comes back clean on his imaging, and if so, he said yesterday to Derek Gould of the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, he's hoping to be back in the lineup as soon as tomorrow. Now, he has not been able to hit over the weekend. He's been able to go in as a pinch runner. He came in defensively, but hitting has been an issue for him so far. So the idea that he's going to be ready to go at 100% tomorrow, I'd be a little surprised by that, but fingers crossed, maybe an off day is exactly what the doctor ordered for him. T-Bone, I don't know if you felt the same way watching it over the weekend, but I felt like you noticed him not being out there defensively. Like you could feel it. And there were multiple plays. Now, this is anecdotal. I have no idea if the defensive positioning would have been different with Wynn on the field compared to when Weatherholt is out there. But in watching it, it felt as though there were a couple of plays down the line for Blaze Jordan. I don't know if those same balls get through if he's able to play, an extra foot towards his right, because Mason Wynn is able to cover so much ground, both with his speed and his arm, by ranging over toward his right, toward third, because he can make those long throws look easy when he's playing at shortstop. This is not a criticism of J.J. Weatherholt, but it is, I believe, a reality of J.J. Weatherholt. He does not have that same ability at shortstop. I believe what you found out over the weekend is that his long-term position, JJ's, is second. I think he fits there. Because I don't know if you felt the same way. I thought there were some throws that were close calls at first that would not have been close if Mason Wynn was playing at shortstop over the weekend. And that's because the arm just doesn't have the same juice from JJ. It's great as a second baseman where the throws are almost always shorter. But from short, man, you could feel it a little bit more. If he was playing over at third, you would notice that a little bit more. So I did feel as though you noticed the absence of Mason Wynn defensively over the weekend. And sometimes that's kind of what you need to see as a fan is, all right, it's the old adage of you don't know what you got till it's gone. I felt like you noticed what you have with Mason Wynn by him not being out there over the weekend.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think you saw with J.J. Weatherholt, to your point, it's not so much the range for me, but it is more of the arm, right? Because I think he can make a couple of plays with some decent range, but he wouldn't have the arm strength to make up for it like Mason Wynn does. And I think it kind of reminded me of like watching Donovan and Edmond kind of progress through the infield, where it was, second base, okay, these guys are pretty good. And then they go to short and third, and you go, yeah, a little bit left to be desired. Good, fine, right? Like passable. If you had to go like 2 weeks, 3 weeks without, I think at the time it was like Paul DeYoung or whoever else might have been at the shortstop at that point, you could live with it. But long term, in terms of planning on that for a full 162 or planning on that for 2 to 3 years out in the future, it was better off to have those guys at second base. And that's kind of how I felt over the weekend with J.J. Weatherholt. And I think your point on Blaze is completely fair, because I think Blaze can kind of stay at that position because it's clear he just doesn't have the range. If you've got Mason Wynn that can kind of cut off some of that to his left, right? So he only has to worry about the line. I don't know if the position his actual position standing on the field would change between the two, but I think him knowing, okay, I can get away with not worrying so much on my left, I think you could really notice that, because watching Blaze over the last week or so, it's clear he's not a long-term third baseman. And even with Mason Wynn on that side, I don't think he's a long-term answer at that position. I find his bat to be interesting and worth playing to try and get the answers on that. But without Mason Wynn, I mean, you really felt it on the left side of that infield. And for a staff that is still pitch to contact, they really cannot be without Mason Wynn on that side because he is a special talent when it comes to defense. I don't know if he'll ever really figure it out offensively. You can get by without him figuring it out offensively because he is kind of Andrelton Simmons-esque defensively. That was a special player. I'll take the S out of that because he's an Andrelton Simmons defender.
Simmons might be the best defender I've ever seen in my life at any position.
I think Wynn's going to be potentially up there.
Wynn is very, very good. He is special. And I think you can make a very strong case that right now he's the best defender at shortstop in the league. The plays that he's able to make, he does not have many misplays. I think that's a big part of it as well. Is like, not only is it that Mason Wynn can make any play, he also makes the routine ones. And that's something that, like Elly De La Cruz, we've seen this with him at shortstop where, he'll make those special plays every once in a while. Unfortunately, it comes with a whole hell of a lot of misplays and just flat-out errors.
Yeah.
And you don't see it. It felt weird early in the season when we saw a couple errors from Mason Wynn. It was like, this isn't the guy that I saw a year ago. And now he's really calmed that down again. He's a really special defender at the most premium defensive position on the field. And when he's not out there, you can feel it. You can notice it.
And his arm, which is really the big difference between him and JJ, as you had mentioned, his arm allows to make up like a split second. And what I mean by that is, if your second baseman gives him a toss that doesn't have a lot on it, but he's able to come across and do that classic kind of swipe the foot across the bag for that play, maybe that split second that the second baseman took to get it out of the glove, Wynn can make it up because of how good his arm is. This isn't a shot towards J.J. Weatherholt, but if there was a split second that needed to be made up on a play like that because like Torres or Fermin struggled to get the ball out of their glove, Weatherholt's arm's not going to do it, and that's the same thing with De La Cruz. De La Cruz's arm can make up for it, and that's that split second of it doesn't feel like a lot until you see it clearly of, well, that's one of the very few special arms in the game at that position.
All right, we've spent a lot of time on negativity from the weekend because most of it wasn't good. They lost 3 games in a row.
That was kind of positive.
They lost on 2 different walk-offs over the weekend. Like, it was, and the third game was an absolute blowout in which you end up with a position player on the mound to finish things out. So not an overly pretty weekend for the Cardinals. Mason Wynn gets hurt. Pereira gets hurt. Yet Ramon Urias back into the mix now. Like, it was not a fun weekend for the Cardinals. On the farm, dude, this AA team, what they're doing right now is absolutely insane. Rainiel Rodriguez and Jesus Baez went back-to-back with home runs, not once, but twice. And Jesus Baez hit 4 home runs in that game. We've talked a lot about third base and what the future is at that position for this team, T-Bone, because we've talked, Gorman, Urias, Blaze Jordan, Fermin. God, they've gone through everybody at that spot so far this year. Brian Torres occasionally. I think if you're going to have a true answer at the position from somebody that is either at the AA or higher level right now, I think those are the 2 guys that I would pinpoint as being potential options there for the long-term future of the Cardinals. Jesus Baez is putting together a truly special season now at AAA, and Rainiel Rodriguez as an offensive contributor is putting up historic level of numbers that you just don't see from a 19-year-old at the AA level.
Yeah, Rodriguez, I'll start with him. It looks like a special bat. And I know Luddy kind of told you guys kind of the same thing and has the nickname Hulk, which is awesome. And then you add in Jesus Baez. I mean, it screams 2 potential outs for third base for them of potentially trying these guys. Baez would be the guy that I would kind of circle first just because he's more of a infielder. But it's worth at least going to try and explore Rodriguez potentially in the offseason. I kind of got that vibe from Surf when we had him on the show last week. I think you're right. I think those are probably their 2 potential long-term answers down there in the minor leagues because I look at the rest of it, like Gorman, I mean, if he's not up here now and he's playing better, and they've even got injuries. If he's not up if Wynn has to go on the IL, then you know what their plans are for Nolan Gorman. It's called he's not in the plans. Thomas Jaycee's not a guy that's going to be a third baseman for Prieto. They did it. Doesn't work. They tried Blaze Jordan. I find his bat interesting. I think there's more upside there. He just doesn't have the defensive skills to remain at third base, in my opinion. So, yeah, I think if they're going to have any kind of answer internally, it's going to have to come from that Springfield team, from Baez or potentially Rodriguez if they explore a position change. And that Springfield team reminds me of kind of what they would have in the past, where they'd have a wave of prospects come through with one team. Like we always talk about the Memphis Mafia, where it was, Jay Descalzo, Alan Craig. I feel like there's somebody else that was a part of that. but those three I remember specifically. Well, now imagine if you have the Springfield Cardinals Mafia that's kind of coming. This has more upside than what the Memphis Mafia was that we talked about way back when, because Descalso and Jay, very good major leaguers. They were more complementary pieces. Craig was the one guy that I thought would have had a chance if he was able to stay healthy to maybe develop into something of a star. They might have two of those guys potentially down there in the minor leagues, and Baez and Rodriguez.
So if you look for position players under the age of 22 that had an OPS of 999 or better at the AA level, there's only 6 of them. And then there's Jesus Baez this season. He's putting up genuinely special numbers. Can I tell you a few of these?
Yeah.
Julio Rodriguez.
He was pretty good.
Gunnar Henderson.
He was pretty good.
Corbin Carroll.
Oh, yeah, he's pretty good.
Yep. He's turned out to be all right. Kobe Mayo, that one has not quite turned out to be as great of a player at the major league level. He was, however, a top prospect at one point in time, and he's been a league average hitter over the last couple of seasons for the Orioles. The other 2 players are Emmanuel Rodriguez for the Minnesota Twins. Again, it has not translated quite as well. He's stalled out at the AAA level since. And then Davison De Los Santos for the Marlins. Again, a guy that has not really translated to the major league level just yet, but he's having some success this year at the AAA level. So, yeah, typically guys that do this, they continue to have some real success as they progress in the minor leagues and then eventually the major leagues. Rainiel Rodriguez, by the way, is 12th on this list.
I was going to say, that's Jesus Baez and Rainiel Rodriguez. I mean, I saw from Redbird Rants the other day, they had that he's, the 6th prospect since 2006 to hit 15 homers at AA before turning 20.
Yeah.
Giancarlo Stanton, Fernando Tatis, Jackson Chourio are on that list. I mean, that's incredible that you've got not one, but 2 of those guys that are doing something that has led to success, and not just success. A lot of those names that were mentioned on that list, the list that I just brought up, those are potential superstars if everything ends up going right for them when they get up here. And that's just 2 more guys to add into Walker and Burley that are already going to be 100 RBI guys and potentially 30 home run guys as well.
You just never see 19-year-olds at the AA level. It just doesn't happen very often. The fact that he is not only 19 at the AA level, but is 19 and is one of the best players at the level, that's historic in terms of what he's able to accomplish. I mean, his numbers are pretty darn similar to Jackson Holliday's numbers from the same level. They have some similarities, honestly, to Junior Caminero and what he was able to produce at the same age at the AA level. They're better than Isaac Paredes when he was the same age at this level, or Fernando Tatis Jr., Jackson Chourio, Jesus Made, all these guys that are legit top flight, either major league players or prospects. Rodriguez is outproducing all of them. I mean, the only guy that's had a better age 19 season in the last decade than what we're seeing right now from Rainiel Rodriguez was Vlad Guerrero Jr. That's it. He's the only guy that was more productive, and he hit 400 at the AA level. So, yeah, he was ridiculous. But other than that, it's just Rainiel Rodriguez and then a bunch of other future All-Stars.
What's crazy is I don't know if they'll do it or not. You can make an argument. He could get a cup of coffee at AAA. He could be a 3-level guy at age 19, which is insane.
I mean, and beyond that, you can make an argument that next year as a hitter, I don't know defensively, but as a hitter, he'll be ready for the majors.
Yeah.
Because if you can do this at AA, you are not far away from being ready to go at the big leagues. They should not rush him. They did that with Jordan Walker. I do not want them to do it again. I'm just saying,
working now.
Hitting-wise, he's pretty damn close to being ready to go for the major league level. All right, coming up in 15 minutes, we'll get into questions and answers. But next, NFL Quick Hitters, including a starting quarterback announcement that's going to go over like a lead balloon in the town, an owner who was just arrested over the weekend, and it makes you wonder if we're about to see some changes in that organization, and so much more. We'll get into all of that next with NFL Quick Hitters here on 101 ESPN.
101 ESPN has your chance to win a pair of tickets for the St. Louis Blues home opener versus the San Jose Sharks, October 8th at Enterprise Center. Blues hockey's right around the corner. Single game Game tickets for the 2026-27 season are on sale now. This upcoming Blues season is stacked with great matchups, can't miss giveaways, and fan favorite theme nights. Get more details and enter to score that pair of free tickets for the Blues home opener right now at 101ESPN.com or on your 101 app. Sunday night, Cubs and Reds. Pregame at 5:30. First pitch at 6:20. The MLB plays on 101 ESPN. 101 ESPN Sports Center.
Cardinals take a weekend tumble in Philly. Good morning, I'm Bradford Bruns. Your Sports Center update is presented by Universal Windows Direct. Yesterday afternoon at Citizens Bank Park, Kyle Schwarber got the last laugh. Philadelphia's leadoff man blasting a 2-run walk-off home run to beat St. Louis 6-4. SCL's loss marked its third straight defeat. Last place Baltimore hits Busch Stadium tomorrow. BMW Championship at Belle Reve. Wyndham Clark prevailing with a an even par 70. Patrick Cantley, Rory McIlroy, and Colin Morikawa rounded out that top four. MU football, meanwhile, closes out fall camp. Head coach Eli Drinkwitz confirming that running back Ahmad Hardy will not suit up come September 3rd when Arkansas Pine Bluff visits Columbia. This Sports Center update was delivered by Universal Windows Direct. You'll be saying, I love my windows.
Giving you the picture, the real big St. Louis sports picture. It's BK and Ferrario on 101 ESPN.
All right, alongside T-Bone and Bradford, I'm BK. We got to start out with this Jed York story.
What's Jed up to?
So Jed York, for those unfamiliar, he's the owner of the San Francisco 49ers. He was arrested yesterday.
Oh, boy.
At 9:30 in the morning, T-Bone.
I'm not out of bed by then.
Yeah. So 9:30 in the morning, he was trying to get in bed, and that's part of the problem. He was at what, according to the report, was a mobile home park in Ohio.
It gets better.
Where you would envision a billionaire hanging out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the original charges against him were 2 misdemeanor charges. They eventually became disorderly conduct and possessing criminal tools, which resulted in a couple of days of jail potentially, a $5,000 bond, etc. The original charge, though, was for prostitution. It was soliciting prostitution. Jed York is a billionaire. He owns the 49ers. Now, there was a story a few years ago about the Patriots owner going to a, we'll call it a massage parlor.
Technically.
And doing things that were of poor taste. He was able to retain his ownership of the Patriots despite that story. I'm not sure that'll be the same case for Jed York, T-Bone.
Why not?
I'm going to go out on a limb and say the Shield probably is not going to love the idea that one of its 32 owners was arrested for allegedly soliciting a prostitute in his home state of Ohio around 9:30 a.m. on a Sunday as the season is about to ramp up. Gonna guess that's probably not the headline that the NFL was looking for.
Yeah, no, probably not.
If that ends up being the case, man, I wonder what the future of the 49ers looks like. Because ownership is a really big deal in the NFL, man. It's one of the most underrated aspects of a team. Like, people a lot of the time will talk about coach and quarterback. I would say coach, quarterback, and owner are a big part of this, because if the owner does not allow people to do their job, dude, the rest of it can get pretty ugly. If the 49ers decide to sell, I wonder how much longer Kyle Shanahan's going to be there. There's already been some talk about what's the future going to hold for John Lynch in San Francisco. There was the significant car wreck, apparently, with Kyle Shanahan this year. He's gone up and down when it comes to his overall record for years while he's been in San Francisco. Don't know how much longer George Kittle has. Christian McCaffrey, how much longer is he going to be able to do this? Trent Williams, the left tackle, how much longer is he going to be able to do this at the high level? I wonder if we're witnessing this year the beginning of the end of this era of San Francisco 49ers football, and this might be the event that ultimately leads to those dominoes falling.
Yeah, I could see how that might be the kind of first domino to fall, because if he ends up becoming someone that ends up having to or does sell the 49ers, like you said, you never really know what you're going to get with an ownership group. And if it's someone that wants to be hands-on, I mean, you saw this directly with Carolina, right? They sold to their owner, and he immediately wanted to get involved in football decisions. And they were already going towards being a mess. Then they really became a mess in Carolina. And I don't get the sense that John Lynch or Kyle Shanahan want to be having a owner that is definitely on them all the time trying to figure things out. And if you're Kyle Shanahan and you're John Lynch, anybody in the NFL would love to hire you. Kyle Shanahan, one of the 3 best head coaches in the NFL. I think John Lynch, one of the 10 best general managers in football. I could see how this is just kind of the beginning of the end, and you could kind of see it coming with their roster already. this could be that first domino. So I can see that tinfoil of yours really playing out.
You've got an aging tight end, a superstar tight end who's coming off of a torn Achilles. He's trying to get his way back onto the field. Sounds like he's going to be activated sooner than otherwise would have been expected. You've got an aging left tackle who showed signs of decline a year ago, has dealt with some injuries, battled through those. You got a running back who's one of the best in the league. However, he's been dealing with injuries of his own. He's already had some calf issues this fall, if I'm not mistaken. And you've got a defensive end who's unhealthy half of the time. You've got a coach who had a serious car wreck, had to miss the start of training camp because of it. Now you've got an owner who just found himself arrested the week or two prior to the start of the NFL season. Just feels like a lot. Feels like a lot going on behind the scenes for the San Francisco 49ers, and I do wonder if this is going to lead to them maybe not quite being the team that we expected them to be in 2026. All right, speaking of people that have been in the headlines in recent years for reasons that you don't want to be in the headlines for, Deshaun Watson was named the Cleveland Browns starting quarterback earlier this morning, T-Bone. He was also booed by his own fans over the weekend. And that's not the first time that this has happened. He said he didn't like it, didn't appreciate it, felt disrespectful, T-Bone, to him. And now, after calling out his own fan base, he's been named the next starting quarterback for the Browns. What do you make of this? What are the Browns doing here, T-Bone?
They're playing the contracts, what they're doing. I'm not surprised by it, if you want me to be honest. I thought he was always going to be the guy that ended up winning the starting quarterback job, mostly because it's not a good starting quarterback job. And they've been kind of, their owner keeps seeming to want to back Deshaun Watson. I think you want to talk about bad ownership. He's the one that constantly keeps coming out saying stuff about Deshaun Watson, and it typically is wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Hey, we paid this guy a lot of money. We kind of sold our soul for this guy. We're going to make him our starting quarterback. I mean, if you're a Cleveland fan, this sucks. I mean, you just booed your starting quarterback. He's not liked for reasons of, A, his performance on the field, B, what he's done away from the field. I can't imagine being a Cleveland Browns fan today, because this does feel like a team just kind of spitting in the face of their fans, saying we're going to start the contract that is Deshaun Watson. When everybody in the room, everybody in the country that watches football knows Deshaun Watson is not a starting caliber quarterback at this point in his career.
I don't think they have a starting quarterback on the roster, but at least with Shador, he's young, he's interesting, and maybe
swagger.
There's a little something more there.
Yeah.
We know with Deshaun, there's nothing more there. This is it. Like, you know what you're going to get with him. I understand the contract has to play, but could it not? Like, it's a sunk cost at this point. You made one of the worst trades and worst signings in NFL history, maybe the single worst signing in NFL history. It's gone horribly from the moment that the deal was signed, and I just can't believe that they made this announcement today, coming off of this weekend. It's just such poor
PR.
Yeah, it's such a poor read on the situation. They said, hey, there's no reason to continue to drag this thing out. It took as long as it could prior to, the final preseason game. I do one more preseason game. Who cares? If one of them gets hurt, like, so be it. I don't understand the decision-making process here, but it's the Browns, so what are you going to do?
Exactly. That is the least surprising part of the entire equation. Cleveland not understanding optics, yeah, thank you very much. Now, I do wonder if he is flat-out Watson, that is just atrocious, absolutely abominable through the first 2 weeks. You begin on the road. You think Sanders has a chance of taking over as quickly as week 3?
I mean, they just named the guy their starter after getting booed, so I don't know, man. Well, I have no idea.
Yeah,
I wish I had a better answer for you, but I can't predict what the Browns are going to do.
I do think starting him at home would be a different scenario. Deshaun Watson right off the bat.
The guy, the starter, coming off of like a horrible performance and him getting booed by his home fans. So I don't think that their home road splits has anything to do with it. I think their owner doesn't care.
Yeah,
like, he doesn't care what the fans have to say. They traded for him and gave him this contract after most people didn't want Deshaun Watson to begin with. They gave him the biggest guaranteed contract in the history of the NFL. And they have continued to double down on that every opportunity possible ever since, despite torn Achilles and horrible performances and zero remorse whatsoever for what has taken place. Like, yeah, I don't think they care.
Yeah, I think if they're making any kind of quarterback change, it's going to be like 6 weeks plus before they make that move. I mean, they were going to ride him quite a while before he tore the Achilles last year. So, yeah, I don't think it's anything of starting on the road for 2 games. I mean, he's bad. They know it. At this point, the owner's just trying to get some value out of that contract that he handed out.
The one other piece of news over the weekend is it seemed like Ashton Jeanty might have had a serious injury. Now, that has since been updated, just a sprained ankle. I would say this, especially if you're a fantasy football player, sprained ankles aren't always a small thing. You can get back onto the field, but that does not mean that you're going to be close to 100%. I'm skeptical of Ashton Jeanty getting back to 100%, given the way that this injury was described coming off of the field, where he couldn't put any weight on his leg whatsoever. Yeah, maybe he gets back onto the field here in the next few weeks, but I'm going to guess he's not anywhere close to 100%. I'll go ahead and take the under on the Las Vegas Raiders at this point in time, and I will take the under on Ashton Jeanty's yardage total this year. I'm probably out on where Jeanty is going in drafts right now.
Yeah, I was going to try and avoid him best possible anyways, just because I didn't really like the offensive line still in Vegas, and we saw what that experiment looks like last year. Now, it's a better roster overall this year than it was last. I was just going to try and avoid him, and now you add on this, and you mentioned this, the sprained ankle. It's also why I'm kind of avoiding Jeremiah Love. It's the issue that he's dealing with is an ankle injury coming out of camp, and he's also got worries of the workload of what he was going to get anyways with the 3 running backs they have. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm avoiding Jeanty. I'm taking the under on the Raiders. I, by the way, would start Kirk Cousins for the first couple of weeks. I would let Mendoza sit and kind of marinate there.
Here's the thing. Their first few weeks are the easy part of their schedule. So you might actually do the opposite just to get Mendoza some opportunities off the bat. They've got Miami, the Chargers. That's not going to be easy. But Miami and the Chargers and then New Orleans as their first 3 games. After that, here's what you've got if you're the Raiders. KC, at New England, Buffalo, the Rams, then at the Jets. All right, here we go. At San Fran, home against Seattle, at Denver, at Cleveland. Now, Cleveland sucks offensively, but that defense is going to be good once again. It's a brutal schedule, so I don't know that there's a spot that you really feel good about putting Mendoza on the field, if not the first couple of weeks, because those are kind of the easy games on their schedule, unfortunately.
No, you better just pray to the deity of your choosing that nothing happens to Brock Bowers this year. No. This year.
314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line to get involved in the show. Coming up next, questions and answers on BK and Ferrario.
Yeah, just move on.
Start your day with the morning after on 101 ESPN. Get in the know first on everything St. Louis sports with Tim McKernan, Doug Vaughn, and Martin Kilcoy. Listen to TMA weekday mornings from 7 to 11 a.m. on 101 ESPN. The morning after is presented by Brown and Crouppen Law Firm. back to more of it. It's BK and Ferrario on 101 ESPN. You've got questions, we may have the answers. Maybe. It's BK and Ferrario's questions and answers on 101 ESPN.
314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for questions and answers. We were just talking about this off air. The AL playoff race is going to be a doozy.
Ugh.
First of all, the leader in the AL West is a game below 500. The third wild card is a tie between the Texas Rangers and the Cleveland Guardians, both of whom are below 500. And then you've got the Blue Jays, who we've all counted out all season long. Negative 55 on the run differential. They're a game and a half back of the playoffs. The Twins and the Orioles, who, as we just mentioned, the Orioles are coming to town this week. None of us fear them. They're 2 games back of a playoff spot. Seattle's 3 back. Detroit, who sold off their soul at the deadline, is 3.5 back. The Royals, who have been awful all season long, have won 8 straight, and somehow they're only 7.5 back. That's not that much further than the Cardinals, who are 5.5 back of a playoff spot right now. Just an awful, no good, very bad playoff race that was the fear of everybody when they expanded to 3 wild cards. That's what's taking place in the AL right now.
Yeah, it's quite the pillow fight that is out there in the American League. The sad part is like, even if they hadn't expanded the playoffs, you still would be looking at a playoff team that would be below 500 because of the AL West, which is wild to say. And like that West, like the Astros minus 44, Rangers minus 46, Mariners 3 games out minus 61 in their run differential. It's unbelievable how bad those teams are. And I would have thought that somebody would get hot and just go on like a 5-game winning streak and kind of separate themselves. And it's not even happened at all. Everybody goes on like a 3-game winning streak, loses 6 in a row, and they're right back to where they were.
Look, those Mariners only lost 22-0 the other day, Tanner. Okay? Only.
It's actually Bryce Miller lost 2 straight starts by 17-plus runs.
He has been shelled.
And like Donovan got put on the IL again.
Did you see what happened?
I didn't see what happened. I just saw he got put on the IL.
He got hit in the head with a pregame pitch from the pitching machine.
Really?
I think so.
Maybe it wasn't meant to be in the
Holy
Pacific
cow.
Northwest. It's weird.
No. And then like Julio Rodriguez has had quite the week where he catches the ball and throws it into the stands when there was 1 out, not 2. Now, that was already a blowout. Didn't matter. And then did you see what happened yesterday?
Brendan Donovan hit in the head by a baseball in the batting cages before the game. Placed on the IL with a concussion. Sorry, go ahead.
What happened yesterday with Julio Rodriguez, that's a wild story in of itself there with Donnie. But Rodriguez yesterday, in the, I think, 6th inning it was, his reliever's done with warm-up pitches. Rodriguez is still playing catch with like a fan out in the stands, so they put a pitch clock violation on the reliever, so he starts in a 1-0 count, gives up a single. That guy later comes around to score in that
At least
inning.
it didn't matter at that point. All right, from the 636, guys, Jordan Walker's now top 10 in the National League in average, slugging percentage, OPS, doubles, homers, RBIs, and runs. Would you consider him to be a top 10 hitter now in the National League? For this season, yeah. If you're in the top 10 in the National League in basically every statistical category, then yeah, for this season, you have been a top 10 hitter. I'm guessing this is more in reference to big picture. Do I view him as a top 10 hitter, though, in the National League? I'd have to go through some of the other names. I would guess no. My guess is I would not have him quite in that range. Soto, Shohei, Schwarber, Harper. I think those names immediately. Matt Olson, Freddie Freeman, Corbin Carroll, I would probably have slightly ahead of him.
PCA.
That one I'm not sure about. Would you? As a hitter?
I probably would, because it looks like he's taken that next step to where he's getting on base, and he hasn't really cooled off.
That's close. Really close.
But I would give the advantage to PCA in the National League.
How do you feel about like James Wood? I think James Wood has done it now for multiple years, so I'd probably put him ahead.
I would take Wood ahead of him as well.
Same.
That's 9. Once you get to the 10th, I think you start talking about him. So potentially borderline top 10 in the National League.
Yeah, I think this year, no doubt about it, definitely top 10 hitter in the league. I think looking long term, I think he's got a good argument to be fringe top 10, like you're saying.
Yeah.
You know, I'm all those other names that we brought up, I don't know that he beats them. We didn't mention C.J. Abrams, I don't think. No. Abrams is another one that would be kind of close, but I would maybe give the edge to Jordan Walker. The thing that for him, it will just be a matter of the on base? Can he continue to get on base at a really good clip? I think the power is always going to be there for him. It will be, can he stay as a guy that can continue to get on base? I mean, he's got a 347 on base percentage, which is kind of quietly not talked about. But yeah, I think he's at, if not top 10, minimum top 15
He's
hitter.
having an awesome season, man. 27 homers, 82 RBIs so far, 96 RBIs, 82 runs scored. He's also going to get to 20 stolen bases this year. He's at 18 stolen bases on the season.
Yeah.
Which is top 20 in the National League. He has the same number of stolen bases this year as Bryce Terang and Corbin Carroll. Their entire game is speed, primarily.
Surprising about Carroll.
Yeah, 18 stolen bases. He also has like 25 triples. So,
Well, okay, I guess
when you're hitting that
he
many
can't
triples,
steal home at a very high rate.
he has 16 triples. Second in the National League is 7.
He would be your favorite player.
Oh, he is. I love watching Corbin Carroll play baseball. It's amazing.
Bottom line, he's going to be your organization's first 2020 guy since Tommy Pham. He's also on the fringe, as we said, in doubles too. Now, if you elevate that portion of your game to go from 28 to mid-30s, for example, we see gap to gap in addition to the pop, then I think surefire top 10.
Am I wrong? Have doubles become less of a thing in Major League Baseball?
They have, but why?
Yeah.
Burleson has 33 this year. He leads the National League. That feels low. Am I wrong?
I don't know
For
about
a typical league leader?
Well,
I
look
think,
back
yeah.
like 20 years ago. I don't know. But to your question, have doubles become less of a thing? And the Bradford's why? I mean, it's because the outfield's playing so deep and they're positioned better
Yeah,
now.
so I'm looking at 2008. This is just a random year that I pulled up. Pedroia had 54 doubles. Brian Roberts had 51. Aubrey Huff had 48, along with Nick Markakis. There were 29 Major League qualified hitters that had at least 40 doubles that year. This year, we might get 5 or 6 in the National League.
Yeah, I know, like, this is what I think it's Jason Stark's written about in the past of Major League Baseball's been looking at the idea of kind of like with the infield, where, in the infield, they got rid of the shift. You got to keep your feet on the dirt, and it's bumped average up a little bit, not a ton. But slug is really dissipated because the outfielders are positioned better. They play deeper now, so they can cut off stuff in the gap. I mean, that's really where you're seeing this. How often do you see ball that is crushed into the gap, and you're thinking, oh, wow, that is going to be a double. And then a center fielder runs it down and makes the catch.
You're right.
And that's why Major League Baseball is exploring the idea now. I think the optics of it would look ugly, but putting like a circle in the outfield of center fielder can stand here and only here. Left fielder can stand here and only here. And that's kind of the next frontier of how they're going to try and see if they can figure that out. 2013,
Matt Carpenter, that was his 55 double season. Manny Machado had 51. Jed Lowry, 45. Yachty had 44.
Wow.
Geraldo Parra had 43 along with Jay Bruce. And then Dustin Pedroia, Chris Davis, Robinson Cano, Anthony Rizzo all had 40 plus. So 10 different players had 40 plus, with 3 of them coming in at 45 or more. This year, you might have 1 or 2 that gets 40.
Last year, you had just 2. Matt Olson, Pete Alonso. That was it.
That sucks, man. I like doubles. 314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text
I
line.
like home runs. I don't care.
For questions and answers from the 618. Should the Cardinals go with an extra pitcher for a week and have a short bench? You can't.
Yeah, 13-13 rule.
Yeah, this is what they can do. From the 636, if you had to trade one and commit to one long term right now, who are you going with? Jimmy Crooks or Leo Bernal? I would trade Crooks and continue to go with Leo Bernal.
I'm 100% with you. For Crooks, I don't see much there defensively, and then the bat's not playing up. And look, he's still young. He may develop into more of a hitter, but I just don't see it. Bernal, at least from the reports, is very good defensively. So if he doesn't even end up becoming much of a hitter, at least he's got the defense that he can put in his back pocket.
No, exactly. If he had established himself to a greater degree up here offensively, I think, or defensively for that matter, but we've seen 171 at-bats. We have that 164 average. Yeah.
Alongside T-Bone and Bradford, I'm BK. 314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line to get involved in the show. You can always check us out on YouTube as well at youtube.com/101ESPN Coming up next, what does the rest of the season represent for one Ivan Herrera? At least one of us here on this show is a little worried about him. We'll talk about that next year on 101 ESPN.
WXOS, WXOS HD1E St. Louis, 101 ESPN is driven by Auto Centers Nissan, home of the 30-day new Nissan Return Promise. This is exactly where you want to be listening to us. It's BK and Ferrario on 101 ESPN.
All right, in doing this research, this is really fascinating to me. Doubles have disappeared. From 2006 to 2009, there were about 9,100 doubles across Major League Baseball. This is league-wide, okay? 2009, something changed, and you lost about 500 doubles. They're just gone. They disappeared. And then the next year, something changed again. There was like a transition year in 2009 where people realized, oh, defense, we can position these players in a way where we can take away doubles. And then they were gone, and then they never came back. 2010 is when things really started to go in the decline. That was the first year of this. And then for the next, decade, it was about 8,300 per year. So you went from 9,100 to 8,300, and it happened overnight in the 2010 season. And it stayed that way for a decade. Then COVID happened, and coming out of COVID, again, something changed, where suddenly, instead of getting 8,300 doubles a year, you got 7,800 doubles a year. So you dropped another 500 doubles per season. So you went from 9,100 doubles when I was a kid, early to mid-2000s, to 7,800-ish doubles. So you lost 1,300 doubles a year, T-Bone. That's a ton, man, over the course of the season across Major League Baseball. And now this year, you're once again seeing a pretty steep decline in 2026. So I don't know if this is something that'll come back. I don't know how you figure out a way to bring that back in the game, but it's doubles and it's triples. Triples in 2016, there were 873 of them. We got to post-COVID, and you're closer to 600 to 700 per year. And so that's another 200 triple decline every year. So basically every day there's a baseball game, you see one fewer triple that day.
One fewer double, you mean?
Triple.
Oh, triple. Sorry.
Yeah, every day there's a baseball game, you see 10 fewer triples. So basically in each game across Major League Baseball per day, there is one double fewer. And then over the course of that day, for all of the games across the league, there's one fewer triple over the course of the day.
And I think the only way that you can combat that if you're Major League Baseball is by kind of drawing a circle or putting in something of here's where players have to play. Because my gut, and I don't know if this would be true or not, but kind of dating back to where you first said that, when you first start to see that decline around 2010 in doubles, my guess is that was better analytics to tell players where to position. And then when you really start to see it cut off is when it really hits that next decline, is they said, wait, we need better, not only we've got better positioning, we need better athletes in the outfield because we're going to take away this version of slugging with doubles and triples. Because think back to 2011, for example. I mean, look at who the Cardinals had roaming the outfield. It was Matt Holliday in left, who was not a great defender, Colby Rasmus / John Jay in center, who were not excellent defenders. They were good, but they weren't great. And then a 35-year-old Lance Berkman, who had been a first baseman for most of his career, converted back to right field. Those guys were cutting off doubles.
Thing, though? I'd have to go back and look at it. But was that a Cardinals thing or was that a Major League Baseball thing? Because I look at the Phillies. We just saw them over the weekend. It's not as though they're throwing out great defenders in left and right field. They've got Bryce Harper going back out to the outfield doing his best version of Berkman from his time here in St. Louis.
Marsh is better than Holliday in left. And even Harper, even though Harper is converting back out there, Harper's definitely a better athlete at this point in his career than Lance Berkman was at 35. Okay. So there are examples that we could point to. I mean, the Phillies are a good example of this is just kind of how Dombrowski's done things his entire career as a GM is bleep defense. We're just going to hit the crap out of the baseball. Now, at times that hurts him. But I would say that the big reason for that cutoff is, though there are some examples to point to now, it's probably 28 of 30 teams are going with better athletes and better positioning, which leads to better defense and cutting off doubles. Meanwhile, in the past, 2011, since I was looking at the Cardinals, I would say maybe it wasn't 15 of 30, but I would bet there was 20 of 30 that were doing that instead of 28 of 30 that were going with better athletes in the outfield.
From Mahomes' long body, guys, what's so great about doubles? It's action. It's the same thing as like stolen bases, right? Why do people love stolen bases? Why do people love doubles? Why do people love triples? I can only speak for myself. Why I love it is because it shows you the athleticism on the field, the action that's actually taking place on the field. And there are only so many moments in a baseball game where you're able to get that. There's no action in a walk. There's no action in, I don't know, a home run. There is action in terms of like the actual hit taking place, but the athleticism that is on display, the potential of a throw to second that either gets the runner out or the base runner sliding into second, getting underneath the tag. Like, these are the moments that are the crescendo for a baseball game. So that's why I find doubles and triples to be so great, is because there is so much action that takes place. But yeah, T-Bone, you're right. The strikeouts also. Somebody on the text line brought up, hey guys, it's all about the batting average. Like, there are fewer hits, so of course there are going to be fewer doubles as a result. I think there's some truth to that, but guys are still hitting for power. Like, the home run totals have not actually declined. They're basically static. The home run total is like the one thing that's remained stable over this time. There are slightly fewer singles, but not as big of a decline as you would expect. It's mostly doubles and triples that are going away. Like, you're still hitting singles, you're still hitting homers, you're getting rid of the mid-range jumper, so to speak, of Major League Baseball, where you're no longer getting the doubles or the triples, and that's where a lot of that batting average is disappearing from. So if you're looking at it, like, where is this coming from? The hits that are going away are becoming strikeouts and fewer doubles and triples. There's all of the action.
Yeah.
Like, that's where the heart of baseball is, and we're losing some of it. So, yeah, that requires them to make some rule changes. I know it's probably going to hurt some feelings or make people mad.
I don't want a big, ugly circle in the outfield.
I'm fine with it.
Can we really just keep track of it with a chip or something?
I think getting rid of the shift has been a plus in baseball. Has it really changed a lot? No, I don't think so. Makes it look better.
Yeah, I was going to say,
sometimes that helps. Sometimes it's just about aesthetically. I think it looks better on the baseball field.
Yeah, I call like Division II, Division III college baseball sometimes in the springtime. And let me tell you, they don't have a rule banning the shift. So when I saw it this past spring, it's like, quit. I don't like this. This isn't pleasing on the eye. But to what you're talking about there with like the doubles, I mean, how baseball became a 3 true outcome sport of walk, strikeout, and home run was, all right, so I'm a lefty that hits the ball on the ground. Well, at the time, there was a shift. So I'm pulling the ball, which is what I'm supposed to do, right? That's how you increase the odds of your batting average. Well, there's 3 infielders on that side of the field. Okay, well, maybe I'll start to try and hit line drives, or I'll put the ball in the air a little bit more. All right, well, in the outfield, they're positioned extremely well, and they're getting better athletically, so they're cutting off those gaps. They're cutting off those doubles. So what's my only way to produce? It's to lift and separate, right? And what does that do? That exposes the top of the zone a little bit more. So now you're going to end up striking out a little bit more. So your options were, how do I get on base? Well, it's basically a walk now, or hit a home run. And that's how baseball ended up transitioning into the 3 true outcomes that they're trying to get away from. And I think the next step towards that would be, I think it's 2 things, really. I think it is potentially putting a lock on where the outfielders can stand. And I think it is probably moving the mound back, because pitching has gotten so good to where we've got a guy throwing 104. And they said on the broadcast last night on the Little League Classic that Mizrowski told a kid, well, I just throw it in the middle and I pray that they don't hit it, because he throws that hard, So I think those are probably your next 2 answers as to what Major League Baseball needs to explore.
By the way, teams that are exposing some of this include the Boston Red Sox and the Milwaukee Brewers, both of whom are having a lot of success this year, and both of whom are in the top 4 in Major League Baseball when it comes to doubles on the season. The Red Sox have hit 238 doubles. Now, part of that is the ballpark. It helps them, right, with the Green Monster out and left. But the Brewers are another team that, they're last in Major League Baseball right now in home runs. Last. They have 120 home runs on the season. And yet they're able to make up for that in part because they are great at hitting doubles. So they do have slug. It's just not in the traditional sense. They've hit 230 doubles on the season. Do you know where the Cardinals rank in doubles this year, T-Bone?
Oh, they've got to be low. Although Burley leads the league, so it might be higher than I think.
Walker's top 10, I believe.
Yeah. I'll say they are, we've talked about weather already. I'll say 21st. Because
of the current state of the game, I'll actually say 18th. Go a tick higher.
26th.
Oh, boy.
That's part of the problem for them, is that they're not hitting for doubles. It's a big issue, and they've got guys on their roster that profile to be great doubles hitters, and for whatever reason, I can't explain it, for whatever reason, they're just not doing it. One of those players is Ivan Herrera. I want to talk about him, what the rest of the season represents for him next year on 101 ESPN.
You can now watch 101 ESPN live on our Air Alliance Team Studio Cams. Catch every show live on our YouTube channel or at 101ESPN.com. 101 ESPN Studio Cams.
Presented by the Air Alliance Team Heating and Cooling. Getting the job done quickly, correctly, 100% of the time.
They are St. Louis. It's BK and Ferrario on 101 ESPN.
Alongside T-Bone and Bradford on BK, you've got BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. So Ivan Herrera has had a weird season, T-Bone. I think we came into it, we were all excited about what he was going to be, and for the first couple of months, it was an 820-ish OPS. Maybe not quite the high level of production that we were hoping for coming into the year, but man, you left the month of May, and in 57 games, he had 12 doubles on the season and 7 home runs. Kind of hard to be upset about that, especially for a guy that at the time was hitting like 275, getting on base about 40% of the time. That'll play. And then since then, it's kind of been a nightmare. By month, he's hitting 220, 220, and 230. And slugging percentage in each month has been below 400. T-Bone, a lot of this is going back to the conversation that we were just having where he's not hitting for power, and doubles are part of that. But also, he's just not connecting. He doesn't look like the same hitter at the plate. I wonder if he's wearing down. I have some thoughts about that. Now, he will tell you no. He will tell you he was out of whack with his swing. His mechanics were off. He didn't have the timing, whatever, right?
And the organization, by the way, will also tell you that nothing's wrong. And they've been happy to tell you when behind the scenes when a pitcher is kind of feeling it.
No doubt. They have not done that as much with the position players. I remember a couple of years ago where Wynn was going through something. I think it was his knee. I don't remember exactly what it was at the time. And they did not disclose that either to us privately or publicly. And then last year with Wynn and the knee as well, he was the one that disclosed that. So I don't know that they would for sure make it known, but it's a fair point to bring up, T-Bone. What do you make of his season? And how does it make you feel about Ivan Herrera's long-term view with the Cardinals?
Is it fair for me to say I've been kind of disappointed with his season?
Yeah.
And the reason I say that, I mean, you look at what he did last year, 284 the average, 373 the on-base, 464 the slug, 38% above league average, and had 19 home runs in 107 games. And it was really just injuries, right? And that was the big kind of question of, okay, well, can he stay healthy? And if he does, in theory, it would look better. And yet outside the first month, 2 months, he's completely fallen off and looks like a shell of himself. And maybe it is he's tired or maybe he is dealing with an injury. But if that's not going to be disclosed publicly or behind the scenes, well, then I'm going to assume he's fine and should be playing better baseball than he has been. And he's hitting in the 2 spots, so there's a lot of pressure for him to get on base and get on in front of Jordan Walker and Alec Burleson, the big boppers in the middle of your lineup. And the on base is still fine, but I thought there was going to be more power in his bat. And the average has dipped off now. And in that 2 spot, you know, typically it's more of your best hitter hits there. And at times the Cardinals flirted with Jordan Walker there. If he's not your leadoff guy, because that's Weatherholt long term, he's kind of positionless, and we're talking about a guy that didn't have as much power as I thought. Does get on base at a decent clip, but is not hitting for average anymore right now at 242. It's tough to figure out where he's going to profile in the lineup long-term for me, and that's why I am really honing in on him. I brought this up right after the deadline as well. I'm very much have my eye on him here in this second half, in this final push, because you know what I'm getting vibes of right now? And it's not to say this is necessarily a bad thing. Lars Nootbaar. And Nootbaar didn't really fit in the 5 spot for them in the lineup, and I'm not actually sure Herrera fits in the 2 spot for them long term. So I've got a question about his position, and I'm not sure where he fits in the lineup. And I'm more skeptical of him getting back to what he was last year because he's not hitting the ball hard. I fear this might be more of who he is long term.
What I don't understand is why this was so different over the last 3 seasons. Like, this is a guy that in his first 200 games as a big leaguer, 770 plate appearances, he had a 285 average, 370 on base, and an 800 OPS. Like, this was not a small sample size. And then you even go through the beginning of this season, the first, 6 weeks of it, he was great there. This is really dating back to mid-June. Once you got into mid-June, since then he's been hitting 215 with a 315 on base and a 630 OPS. That's a different player. And I can't explain it. I don't know why this has happened. I don't know if it is him wearing down. I don't know if it is a mechanical thing. I don't know if it is opposing pitchers have found something in his swing and have exposed it, and this is going to be something that is more of a long-lasting issue. But I can't just do the Men in Black flashy thing and pretend as if the 290 hitter that averaged, 25 doubles and 20 homers per 162 games over the last 3 seasons. I can't pretend as though that didn't happen because it did. It was real. Now, is the power going to be what I hoped it would be? Maybe not. Maybe he is a 20 home run hitter instead of a potential 30 home run hitter, which is what his pace was a year ago prior to the injury. Maybe that ends up being the case. But he still should be a good hitter. And right now, he is not one of the better hitters on the roster. Since mid-June, he has a lower OPS than Jose Fermin, J.J. Weatherholt, or Mason Wynn, none of whom have an OPS over 700 in this stretch. That can't happen for 2+ months of the regular season for him to just disappear as a contributor offensively because he brings a whole lot of nothing defensively. Like, if you're going to be what he is behind the plate, and I think he's been an okay game caller, but other than that, if you're bringing what he does, where he's thrown out 1 base runner in the last 2+ years, you can't be this offensively. That's not going to work. This profile doesn't work at first. It doesn't work at catcher. It doesn't work at DH. So he's got to be a better hitter. He's got to be more consistent as a hitter. And my hope is that he will be, because I revert back to the longer, sustained stretch of time where he was not only a good hitter, he was a top 30 hitter in baseball. He was hitting the way that, Alec Burleson has been for most of this year. And it's just disappeared for 2 months, and I can't explain why.
No, Tanner, for me, frankly, it is clearly about the power outage. To that end, you're talking about someone who has just 4 home runs since back on June the 22nd. We're talking about 2 months there, which also makes the subsequent stretch that you saw, albeit against Colorado earlier in August, and then the first game of that Philly series, we had heard a lot about the mechanics maybe being out of whack temporarily. He gave you a tantalizing glimpse, but that's what this year has been, with the exception of, as you said, BK, the 6-week stretch to begin the campaign and a couple of other blips basically along the way. We've been left wanting in that department.
Yeah, and the thing that concerns me is you mentioned kind of looking more of the bigger picture of like the back of the baseball card, what he was last year. Is, for me, I think baseball is one of those sports where it can just disappear like that. And I'm not saying, like, his disappear, he's still 12% above league average, right? But if this is more his profile, to your point on his defense, it makes how you view him a lot differently from the organization perspective. And if they had a better option in their lineup, we would be talking about moving him lower in the lineup. I mean, that would be a conversation today.
If Mason Run was healthy, I think you could have that conversation today. Because he's been at least hitting. Yeah. He's hitting for average. Now, there's not a whole lot of damage that's being done outside of basically one game. But prior to that, he had been at least hitting better than Herrera.
And if Nootbaar were here and was playing well, I mean, then it would be a conversation as well. But it's not, because they just don't have better options right now. And it's the thing for me that is worth monitoring, because I don't see him as a catcher long term. Now, maybe the Cardinals disagree with me, and if they do, then they can view this a little bit differently. But if I don't see him as a catcher long term, the offense and the power is not there right now. And if he's not going to hit for as much average, well, then it's tough to profile him in like the 5 spot, because I think long term their answer in the 2 is either Jordan Walker or Rynel Rodriguez. And I was complaining not so much because Nootbaar wasn't a good hitter, but his profile doesn't fit well in the 5 spot. That 5 spot needs to be more of a contact-oriented guy that hits for average to help drive in those guys that are 3-4 that are on base if they've brought in the 1-2. And he right now is not profiling as that. Now, maybe it is he's wearing down, and maybe that will be the thing that becomes kind of the key word for them at the end of the season. I mean, he does lead the National League in plate appearances at 586. So maybe that is the case. But if his body was wearing down, I think they wouldn't be playing him as much.
I agree. At least that would be my thought. But I can't explain it any other way, because this guy is too good of a hitter to just be this bad for this long. Somebody brought up, guys, could it be related to him catching this season and having so many opportunities behind the plate? I suppose it could be. The thing is, like, he's been better offensively when he's behind the plate. If you just look at the splits, as a catcher this season, I don't know how much this stuff matters. He's batting .280 and he has an OPS of 800. As a designated hitter this year, which is about 2 times as many games, he's hitting .225 with a 700 OPS. So one thing that I would like to look into, I have not done this, it would take a little bit of time. I wonder what his splits look like the day after he catches. Like, if you split up his DH days to the day after he catches and then just like the in-between day, I wonder if the day after is when his production really slips, where his legs are tired because he was catching the day prior, and then he's able to kind of go back up from there as the week goes along. I don't know. It's a hypothesis. I have no idea. I'm trying to understand why this is happening, because I don't get it. I really don't get it. This guy is too good of a hitter. I'm not as concerned long-term as you are, T-Bone. I think he'll be fine. He's 26 years old. He's been a productive hitter basically every stop he's ever been at in the minor leagues and every stop he's ever been at the major leagues prior to this season. So I'm going to say it's a 2-month blip. But if it continues, it is at least something worth monitoring. A, the rest of the way this year, and B, for the future of how they decide to build this team around him.
I think from an offense perspective, because the pitching has become a big storyline now that they're dealing with injuries, to me, he's the biggest storyline in the rest of the season. Baez, to me, you're not going to learn much because he's a rookie trying to figure it out. You know, J.J. Weatherholt.
You're probably right.
I think J.J. Weatherholt, I think his is hey, this is his first time going through full 162. Now,
his story is more of Rookie of the Year than it is anything meaningful for what you're going to learn about him.
But for Ivan, I mean, it'd be one thing if this was like, hey, he's gone cold in August, right? Because then I would hear the argument of, hey, wearing down, didn't play a full 162 last year. I could get that. The fact that this has been 3 months at this point where he's not been much of a hitter. And again, for me, I mean, in baseball, the moment guys start slugging below 400, typically it doesn't bounce back. That is one thing worth monitoring. And it's not like his Baseball Savant page would tell me, hey, things should be a little bit better. he's kind of in line with where he should be offensively.
Oh, he's just been bad for 2 months.
Yeah,
there's nothing you can look at and say he's been good at this. No, he's been bad for 2 months now.
And that's why I circle him as the biggest storyline to watch from an offensive perspective in the second half and what it means for him moving forward with the Cardinals organization.
He's Tanner Hendrickson. That is Bradford Bruns, and I'm Brandon Kiley. You've got BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. One guy to go ahead and throw out here. J.J. Weatherholt now, his numbers on the season, they're basically just what we saw from Lars Nootbaar in his Cardinals career.
Good Lars Nootbaar?
No, just his entire career.
Just Nootbaar.
If you do Lars Nootbaar's entire career numbers while he was a Cardinal, they are almost identical to what we have seen so far this year from J.J. Weatherholt. Weatherholt this year is hitting 243. Newt, as a Cardinal, hit 240. Weatherholt this year is getting on base at a 34% clip. That is exactly what Lars Nootbaar's career number was with the Cardinals. In fact, if you go by slug, it's a little worse. Now, because of league averages, slug has gone down in 2026. It's a OPS plus that's the same.
No doubles, as we learned last year.
J.J. Weatherholt has a 375 slugging percentage. Nootbaar as a Cardinal was at 400 in terms of his slugging percentage. So J.J. Weatherholt slightly below Newt when it comes to OPS from this season versus Newt's career here in St. Louis. That is not to suggest that J.J. will be that long term. It is just coming into the season, I said I thought that would be the comp for what J.J. Weatherholt is as a profile. Low average, high on base, a little bit of pop, but not a ton. I think J.J. is basically leveled out to being exactly what we expected him to be offensively this season. He's been better defensively and base running wise, but offensively, I think he's pretty much been what we all thought he was going to be coming into the season.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I'm still dreaming on him to be a little bit better than Nootbaar, just because I think there's a little bit more power than I thought. You know, I mean, he surprised me in his home run total. Now, the doubles have been shocking.
You know who? Your top 4 doubles hitters this year, Burley, Walker, Herrera, Wynn. Those are the top 4. Weatherholt is tied for 5th. Do you know who he's tied with?
Oh, boy.
14 doubles on the season.
Wait for it.
Is it Fermin?
I have an outside-of-the-box suggestion, too. Yeah,
it's
Fermin.
Jose Fermin.
Yeah.
He and Jose Fermin have the same number of doubles, and Fermin's done it on half as many at-bats this year. That's crazy. They also have the same average, by the way.
Just killing those lefties.
Wow.
Killing them.
But the reason I would dream a little bit more on with Weatherholt is I think there's already more power in the bat, and I think doubles will start to come because of it. Now, if I'm wrong and he just ends up being Lars Nootbaar, I'm actually okay with that. I would call that a win. I know some people would be disappointed based on his prospect. Yeah, offensively. I know some people would be disappointed on that based on his prospect pedigree. I just never saw his profile as one that screamed superstar. I mean, it was always kind of bat to ball was kind of his best skill set. And we ran through this at I think on the Rebel Report and even on this show months ago before he debuted. There's just not a ton of superstars that have that as their kind of their superpower. A lot of their superpower is either power or speed, and that's not his. And for me, because you have other of that tool coming through the system with A. Walker and Burley here and with Rodriguez down in the minor leagues, and honestly maybe even Jesus Baez down in the minor leagues, he doesn't have to be the superstar. If he just settles in as being a really good leadoff hitter, Lars Nootbaar, I'd be okay with that. That's a win for the Cardinals.
J.J. Weatherholt has the same batting average and the same slugging percentage on the season as Jose Fermin. I don't really know what to do with that statement. I just know that
that's just
somehow
Fermin
true.
Had a good year. Let's turn this on Fermin.
Optimism.
Yeah,
Optimism.
The Ferminator, who I tried to cut like 3 times prior to this season.
How about this one? Jose Fermin has the same OPS on the year as Joshua Baez.
That's shocking.
Joshua
Goes
Baez.
to show you what 4 home runs and your first 5 hits will do for you.
Baez is getting everything through his slug, but yeah, wild times. All right, alongside T-Bone and Bradford, I'm BK. We have a target date for Ahmad Hardy. We'll get into it next year on 101 ESPN.
101 ESPN has your chance to win a 4-pack of tickets to this year's Blues and Brews on Friday evening, September 18th at the Anheuser-Busch Brewery. Get fired up for the Blues season at this outdoor street party featuring live music from the Bobby Ford Band and Matt Jordan, plus appearances by Blues players and alumni, food trucks, on-stage festivities, and more. Tickets are on sale now for Blues and Brews.
Presented by Michelob Ultra, 101 ESPN, 92.3 WIL, and Scott Lee Heating Company, your locally owned and operated Mitsubishi Electric Elite contractor.
Find all the details and your shot to score free tickets right now at 101ESPN.com and on the 101 app.
Tanner Hendrickson here to tell you about something big that is coming. On September 2nd, DraftKings Game Day arrives with massive deals, exclusive offers, and an all-day celebration built for sports fans. So mark the date, September 2nd. DraftKings Game Day is the kickoff of a new season, a new era, and the biggest day in sports history. Whatever you're betting, DraftKings Game Days has deals dropping all day long. One app, every sport, DraftKings Game Day is yours. So sign up with DraftKings today with code Tanner and get ready to celebrate the biggest day of the season. New DraftKings customers sign up with code Tanner, spend $5 to get $200 in bonus bets within 21 days. That's code Tanner in partnership with DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus, physically present in Missouri. Eligibility restrictions apply. $50 in non-withdrawable bonus bets issued every 7 days via click to claim for 21 days. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see sportsbook.draftkings.com/promo. Limited time offer.
We want to hear from you. Use the Scott Lee Mic Drop feature on the 101 mobile app. Give us your opinion on anything St. Louis sports with a mic drop.
Brought to you by the Scott Lee Heating Company.
Bullpen blow-up sinks Redbirds. I'm Bradford Bruns. Your Sports Center update is powered by Saliga Heating and Cooling. On Sunday afternoon in Philadelphia, Kyle Schwarber victimized Riley O'Brien with a walk-off homer. Phillies 6, Cardinals 5. St. Louis suffering that series sweep. Tomorrow, Baltimore visits Busch Stadium. Weekend golf, Wyndham Clark staves off Patrick Cantlay plus Rory McIlroy to win the BMW Championship at Belle Reve. City SC beat Western Conference leading Houston 2-1. Gridiron-wise, Mizzou head coach Eli Drinkwitz announced that star running back Ahmad Hardy will miss Week 1's matchup against Arkansas Pine Bluff. This Sports Center update was presented by Saliga Heating and Cooling, a Daikin heating and air conditioning dealer.
Giving you the picture, the real big St. Louis sports picture. It's BK and Ferrario on 101 ESPN.
Ahmad is working his rear end off. He's doing everything we can ask him to do, but just not going to be able to be ready for that first game. We're going to do the very best by him and his team, and our medical team just feel like right now it's in his best interest to hold off. So I want to make sure that I get that out there to the fans now, so there's no false hope there, and hopefully we can get that, he can keep working and try to get back as soon as possible. Really don't have a timetable on that. It's up to his body and his response, and I know he's doing everything he can.
Alongside Tanner and Bradford on BK, that was Eli Drinkwitz over the weekend talking with the media, updating the status for Ahmad Hardy. Not available for the season opener, has not yet participated in any practices, and according to Eli Drinkwitz, needs at least 2 weeks of practice before he's able to get back and return on the field. Pete Thamel tweeting over the weekend, Pete Thamel of ESPN.com, the guy that reports everything from Mizzou nowadays, they're targeting a mid-September return for him, which would mean sometime around that Troy, Mississippi State game, something like that. as a potential return to play for Ahmad Hardy. Now, my guess, T-Bone, that'll be in a limited capacity. Yeah. He's not going to come back and immediately be your lead runner that's going to go in and return to the exact same role that he had a year ago. But if you get a mid-September return, maybe by early October when you play against Florida, Texas A&M, Ole Miss, a big stretch of games there for Mizzou, maybe by then he's able to be closer to full capacity. I appreciate Eli Drinkwitz just clearing this up. Just coming out and saying, hey, listen, we've done the thing in the past where, like, hey, starting quarterback, we'll switch roles, right? We'll go one guy gets first half, the other guy gets second half, and then we'll announce right after the game who the starter is for week 2. We're not doing that here. We're not going to play any games. We just want you to know, do not expect Ahmad Hardy to run out of that tunnel with his pads on for week 1 against Pine Bluff. It would be silly for us to do. It would not be smart for him. And that's not what's happening here. So I thought this was a smart way to get out in front of it. And now we can hopefully see him at some point by the time we get, about a month from now as Missouri takes the field against Troy or Mississippi State.
Yeah, I'm glad to see that Missouri came out and just said this. I mean, and look, I'm glad that they're not rushing him through this process as well. They didn't need to get him on the field for Arkansas Pine Bluff. That's a cupcake game. Kansas on the road, a little bit tougher, but you really want him for the SEC stretch. And I think what you said, my gut would tell me he's back September 28th. No need, in my opinion, to even rush him back for the Troy game because it's Troy. No offense, Troy. But I think SEC plays
should be able to
really
win that one without him. They're good. Troy's good, but for a group of 5 team, you should
you're the
be able to win it.
You're in the SEC. You should win that game. I think the way you said it is they kind of hopefully will, as they slow work him back into it, you go with, like, at Mississippi State versus Florida, he's kind of that number 2 behind Jamal Roberts. And then by the time you get to that huge stretch where you've got A&M at home, that's hopefully by the time where you're able to get him back into that lead running back role. That's kind of the way that I think they would hopefully be able to play this out if his body responds well as he starts to recover from his gunshot wound in his leg.
Yeah, and is this not precisely why you valued Jamal Roberts so much, coming back, having him return for another season? The fact of the matter is that this young man, as voted just over the weekend as a new team captain too last season, now there was still this real disparity in terms of carries, as there should have been in the backfield. I think a lot of fans, they felt as if Jamal Roberts received more than the 124 totes, more than he should have. But in obvious pass protection situations, giving you a little bit of everything, I would feel perfectly fine with Jamal Roberts, frankly, through that September 26th game at Mississippi State. If you have Hardy able to go as much as you can for the opener at home, the SEC opener that is, the home opener versus Florida, you should be in an advantageous position. And also, BK, in my estimation, don't discount the possibility, especially in the first quarter of the schedule, of getting a lot of run literally out of a Zayshawn Edwards' too. Because, Eli Drinkwitz and the coaching staff really liking this guy coming out of Houston Christian a couple of seasons ago or one season ago. A lot of juice as well. He may actually get more of the carries than you expect in the early going.
I'd be surprised.
Really?
I'll go ahead and take the under on whatever the number is.
Okay.
I bet he'll get a lot against Arkansas Pine Bluff. That's about all I'll bet on.
The reason that I mention that is because I think we're kind of misremembering what the historical trend has been from Drinkwitz. Last year, yes, it was kind of a split backfield between the two guys. Traditionally, he will lean on one guy. He leaned on Cody Schrader as the dude. He leaned prior to that on Tyler Beatty as the dude. Before that, it was Larry Roundtree as the dude. When he has a guy that he trusts and he trusts Jamal Roberts, I think you're going to see a lot of Jamal Roberts. Now, as T-Bone mentioned, against Pine Bluff, I think that's different. I think against Pine Bluff, you see, I don't know, maybe a quarter and a half, maybe a half of Jamal Roberts, and then after that, they get him out of the game because they should be able to win that one with whoever it is in the backfield. But Kansas, Troy for the first half at least, Mississippi State, if he's still out at that point, at that point, I think you see a good portion of those carries going to Jamal Roberts. Here's a question for you guys. By the time we get to the end of the year, who's Mizzou's leading rusher? I was asked this. I went on the Rock M Nation podcast the other day with my guy Nate Edwards, and he asked me this, and I'm a coward. I said Jamal Roberts, but are you guys? That was my original. I don't know, but I said Jamal Roberts because I just don't know when you're going to get 100% Hardy back.
Yeah.
But
they go up against some really good teams this year.
Correct. It's going to be hard for him to rack up the yardage total in the second half.
Boy, that's a great question. I'll still say Hardy. because I think he's that good that he could still make up that ground even against these good of defenses.
Yeah.
So I'll say Hardy, but it will be close. I think he'll barely beat Roberts by like 100 yards would be my guess.
I'm with you there. I'll go closer to 200, but yeah, the fact that last season you're still talking about someone, I know it's last year, he still had 132 more carries. When it really gets to the grind of the SEC schedule, I will ride with Ahmad in that instance.
Okay. So, and you're going with Hardy too?
Mm-hmm. I think he could put up like huge games at Arkansas versus Kentucky. And if he's back full strength by Florida, he could put that up as well. Like I think he'll have enough big games to make up for it.
He's your game breaker.
And Jamal's probably only going to play a half in 2 of the first 3 games.
He might have 200 yards.
Well,
in
that's
half,
fair.
but
That's
yeah.
fair.
I'm gonna go Jamal Roberts. I think he ends up being the leading rusher for Mizzou, but it's possible they both end up having huge seasons. This is why Mizzou wanted Jamal Roberts back, not because they feared that their starting running back would get shot in the offseason, but you never know what the health is going to be like for your number one running back over the course of the year, and Jamal Roberts is a more than capable backup at this level. He could be a starter for, 10 different teams in the SEC this year. He's that good.
For sure.
And if he does well in the first half of the season, it's also possible he just earns more of a role. And Drinkwood says, hey, man, we're going to bring you along slowly. You're recovering from a gunshot wound. There's no need to rush this process along. We've got a more than quality number one running back. I mean, Jamal Roberts is an NFL runner. The guy's going to be a running back in the NFL this time next year, unless he decides to return from to college, which has been the case for others that were in the NFL over the last few weeks. T-Bone, if you missed it, news yesterday in college football as a tight end for the Cleveland Browns was waived. He played in their preseason game over the weekend. He was waived. Daquan Wright is heading back to college, expected to join the LSU football team to play for his former coach in Lane Kiffin. There's apparently a loophole where fifth-year players can now come back to college even if they were part of an NFL roster during training camp. Here's Dan Lanning on the latest trend across college football and how he views it as a coach in the collegiate ranks.
And once you go to the NFL, to me, you're in the NFL. You don't get the opportunity to come back. 2, most of us have built our rosters, and you have a limited roster limit now. So if you invited somebody back to your team, that means you're kicking somebody else off your team, right, to match your roster limits. I don't think that's fair to the players that worked all summer, all spring, and put themselves in position to be ready to work for a team, to have somebody come back. But ultimately, it used to be once you had an agent or once you went and did the combine or once you went to all those things qualified as you are no longer an amateur, you're a professional now once you declare for the draft. So to let any of those players come back, fair or unfair to them, it's unfair to the sport.
This is ridiculous. I don't mind much of this new stuff like NIL. We'll talk about this more later, but Mark Mitchell, go get your money. I get it. I don't blame you. $6 million, if that's what the reported offer is that's out there to go play for Kentucky, more power to you. You can set up the rest of your life. I get it. I don't blame you. A guy going to the NFL, being a part of training camp, participating in preseason games, already going through the NFL combine, like doing the whole process, went undrafted. You don't get to come back to college. That's it. You wore an NFL jersey during training camp and participated in preseason games. You're out. You're done. Your eligibility has expired. Unfortunately, that's not the way that it works nowadays. And Daquan Wright is probably going to be a college football player this season. They've got to do something. I know the NCAA can't, but hey, man, like Eric Schmidt, can you get something done, please, in Congress? Can you do something? Because this can't continue. We can't have this in the future. I'm curious to see how the NFL handled this. Is Daquan Wright now eligible for the NFL Combine next year?
I would say no, but I don't know how. I would say he can't go into the draft. I think he's a free agent. It would be the way I would operate on this.
Is he? But what if he has a monster season this year?
Yeah, I would say
a third-round prospect suddenly.
Yeah, I would say he's a free agent, and then he gets signed as a non-drafted free agent, but like a really rich non-drafted free agent. I don't know.
Is it a supplemental draft thing? Is that what we're going to... I truly don't know. I don't know how you handle this.
Apparently, we don't do those anymore. Maybe in this instance, though, yes.
Well,
why not?
The NFL, I think, was right in the way that they handled the Sorsby situation, right? Dude, you gambled. We're not going to stand for that, and you're not taking responsibility. So, yeah, good luck out there. I can't blame this guy if he can find the loophole. Like, I agree with you. I don't think this should be allowed, but I don't think the NFL can block him from going back to college and then block him from coming back into the league.
I don't blame Daquan Wright. He's just taking advantage of the rules. Just like I don't blame Mark Mitchell for taking advantage of the rules as they're currently written. If you can go get yourself some money, like Daquan Wright's going to make more, I would bet, this year from LSU than he would have made guaranteed from the Browns.
100%.
Or than anybody else in the NFL. So go do it. Like, I don't blame it. If you can go be big man on campus and try to get to a college football playoff this year, sounds like a fun time to me. Make a few $100,000 in the meantime, great. But the fact that he's able to do this is crazy. It's absolute insanity. Like, these teams have been set for months. There is no transfer portal right now. Like, you're not allowed to transfer in college football if you are somebody that's moving teams today.
And there's some bylaw in the SEC
has closed for months.
Yeah.
And yeah, this guy's able to do it because he found the loophole, or there is a loophole that exists, by getting this 5th year of eligibility and now coming back not from Tulane or Western Kentucky, but from the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
It had to be LSU as well, with which I'm fine, by the way, because build the case that much more for the arch enemy.
I'll be curious to see it, because the SEC hadn't even released a statement, I don't think, unless they did it this morning and I didn't see it. I'll be curious to see if they try and stop it. They did their whole speech of, we want to separate and we want to have rules and we want to make sure that teams, we can do this the way that it used to be. And then like this happens and I bet you the SEC doesn't say anything. And I don't even know if they can. I mean, their bylaw is about transfer within the SEC. Got to put your name in 5 days after. This isn't a transfer. This is like a free agent signing, essentially, from the Cleveland Browns.
Bacon Wrapped Wiener said, dude played all 4 years in college, was a nothing burger, going to LSU for Kiffin. Looks like he was just at Ole Miss. He was not a nothing burger. Last year for Ole Miss, had 650 yards and 5 touchdowns. As a tight end in college, those are crazy numbers.
Yeah, Lane's going to take that.
Very few college football tight ends had better numbers than that a year ago. I would have to look up what the exact number is, but I bet you it's like 2 or 3. Across the entire country. Eli Stowers last year put up higher numbers. Baylor's tight end put up slightly better numbers. And I think that's it. I mean, this is one of the top tight ends from college football from a year ago that's going to be returning now to college football.
The crazy part, he's probably not going to be the last one to try this.
Oh, no, there will be others.
Yeah.
Why
all these other guys that could have like a 5th year, you're not going to make a team out of training camp potentially. All right, so I can go work out and hope to get on a practice squad, or I can go play for some school in the SEC and probably be a starter, make another couple $1,000,000 and then go back and do this whole grind of the NFL thing. Yeah, okay, I'll do that.
NFL players on the practice squad make a maximum of $22,000 weekly. It is a non-guaranteed salary. It is a weekly salary. So you make $22,000 a week.
Dang, that sounds kind of nice.
It does, in theory.
You realize how much NIL is out there.
Until you hear for 15 weeks in a college football season, you can make $500,000. Which would you rather have? One's guaranteed for the entirety of the season. The other, if you were to get hurt after week 3 on the practice squad during a practice, you twist your ankle and get cut, you're done. You made $65,000 for the year, and that's it. I would rather go back to college and have the opportunity to make more money, play for a better team, and actually get on the field. And the other side of this is, if you are eligible for the draft, which we just don't know, you could also improve your draft status for next year to get guaranteed money on a rookie contract. So it's wild times in college football. This is just the latest reminder of that. Coming up next, Junk Drawer here on 101 ESPN.
The NFL preseason is on ESPN. Thursday, Chargers and Rams. Pre-game at 8:30, kickoff at 9. Your destination for the NFL in St. Louis is 101 ESPN. back to more of it. It's BK and Ferrario on 101 ESPN. Let's open it up. The Junk Drawer is presented by Bet365. With Bet365 early payout, you win even if they lose. Get paid out instantly when your team goes up big, even if they blow the lead later. Bet365. Winning is everything.
Alongside T-Bone and Bradford, I'm BK. T-Bone, you went to KC this weekend. How did everything go for you, my man?
I had a blast in the 3 days that I was in Kansas City. We accomplished quite a bit while we were on the road. We hit the Negro Leagues Museum, which really enjoyed. I mean, that's a great thing that they've got there, and the history of the Negro Leagues, it was impressive, and it took my breath away. We hit the World War I Museum memorial that they have over there in Kansas City. I went to the Union Station there, and look, there's not much there. We'll just be honest and frank about it. There's a coffee shop there.
That's not true. There's a lot of the Union Station, but I don't think you went into the actual Union Station area. Okay, go ahead.
Wasn't impressed, but they had a coffee shop there that was cold brew with lemonade. Doesn't sound that good. Was freaking delicious
with lemonade.
Yeah,
that's a thing. That's
I didn't know that was a thing. I'm gonna start doing that at home. I got cold brew at the fridge. I'm going across the street, get some groceries, some lemonade.
Okay.
I'm gonna have me a great time tonight with some
cold
barbecue.
Brew.
I did get some barbecue. St. Louis, I'm sorry, we're losing that battle. I'm being honest, man. That was some of the best barbecue I've had.
Where'd you go? What spots did you hit?
We only hit one.
Okay.
We wanted to hit another one, but just timing-wise, it didn't work out because I also went to the City game and a Royals game while I was in KC.
Damn, man. You hit everything.
Yeah.
Good for you.
We hit everything on our to-do list, and going to a barbecue place in KC was on it. We went to, you'll know that, Q39.
Q39. Yep. Good spot.
Really good spot.
Kind of closest thing that I could think of here in St. Louis is like a Salt and Smoke kind.
Yeah.
Like a more upscale version of Salt and Smoke.
Did that make last week's top 10? Did it barely?
Q39, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, you guys did like a ranking of barbecue spots last week?
Organically, it sort of turned into that.
I was really impressed because I got their brisket and I never had
burn ends,
and I got those.
Figured
they were super good. And then the sides, they had the street corn there, like best street corn I've ever had, and a pasta salad. Whew. Boy, it took my breath away.
Okay, so T-Bone's in on the KC barbecue scene. Good to know. Kaufman, let's get a rating from you. You've been to a lot of How many ballparks have you been to now?
17 major league ballparks.
That's a lot of ballparks. How does it fit in for you?
I think I put it just outside my top 5, like 6, 7, somewhere in that range.
Even with the highway as the backdrop?
Well, luckily I didn't see the highway as a backdrop because I was sitting low enough, so I would recommend if you're going. I love that ballpark. Now, it's got some issues, but they're somewhat small issues. Like, one, the location of it's just not great, but they're working on that. The concourse is pretty tight, which is a bit of a problem. But other than that, I love all the elements to it. It's not just a boring cookie-cutter stadium. You've got the fountains, which is cool. They've got a lot of great stuff out there in the outfield, especially if you got young kids. I could see how you would love it. They've got mini golf, a place for them to, hit a baseball, for example.
It's a ballpark to go to if your kid doesn't like baseball.
Yeah, that's a great way to frame it.
They've got the little K in the outfield where your kid can go and hit on their mini fields and pretend as though they're one of the Royals players.
I saw a bunch of kids loving mini golf and a bunch of parents going, I want to go watch baseball.
Yeah. That's beyond left field, right?
Right field area.
Oh, okay.
It's all in the outfield.
Yeah, but
it's the whole thing.
And then the score, I don't know why. I love a scoreboard that's just different from a regular square or a rectangle. They've got it in the shape of their logo with the crown on top of it. That just looks cool.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed that ballpark, and I had been once before, but I was very little, so I didn't really remember much of it. I think it's in my top 10 of stadiums that I've been to, and I hate to say it, I'd also put it potentially ahead of Busch Stadium. I think Busch is probably right there with it just because the backdrop's cooler.
Backdrop is so much better.
But the ballpark itself is cookie cutter.
Yeah, I agree. I think they've done a good job in recent years of upgrading some of the options. Their food was far behind. And they just didn't have anything out. I know this is going to sound bad for traditionalists that just want to go to a baseball game and watch the baseball game. I totally get that, but you need options for other people that want to come to the baseball game and have other things that are there to do. And it was limited at Busch for a really long time. Now there are some of those things that are starting to be more incorporated. The right fields, what they've got going on up there with the Budweiser Terrace, I think has been a nice addition over the last 3 to 5 years, whatever it's been. They've got one of those in KC as well. A lot of ballparks now have that kind of a thing. The GA area that you can go sit at with cheaper beers or local selections, that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's a good spot. Kaufman, if you haven't made the trip, I would recommend it. It's a cool ballpark, and if you've got kids, it's a great ballpark to go to for you.
Yeah,
and it's cheap because the team stinks.
And that's also true. Although we happened to show up for like one of the 4 nights that they were nearly a sellout because it was an after concert night that was all there, and it was fireworks night. I mean, it was like the perfect
fireworks
storm.
Are great, by the way.
Yeah.
And you just missed K-pop Demon Hunters night. Big things ahead.
I didn't see that one.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, we had a great time in that ballpark. Like you mentioned, they've got a little outdoor area, and it sells like craft beers up in that area. And the food, I didn't get any food there because we ate barbecue before earlier in that day. The food looked pretty solid too. So, I really enjoyed my time in KC, and I couldn't get over how modern and kind of old school the city was, but it wasn't like old school to where like buildings were run down. It was all like super nice in the downtown area. They've got a trolley system that worked great. That was just by our hotel. They're building like everywhere there in KC. It all looks so modern. I was really impressed. I don't think there was a bad thing I could say about Kansas City.
That's what I'm talking about, brother.
Now, I'm not moving there like you wanted me to do.
Yet.
Yeah.
I don't think
I could afford to live in Kansas City and everything that was so modern. But I mean, it was, and like, honestly, like, even late at night, there was still like decent amount of nightlife going on. Like, just down the street from our hotel was a ton of beach volleyball courts. Every night, people were out there playing volleyball.
To localize it here to St. Louis, it's what gives me hope about downtown St. Louis, because what you see right now downtown is honestly even like 5 steps ahead of where Kansas City was downtown 20 years ago. When I was growing up, it was a ghost town. It was awful. You would not want to go down there. There was nothing to do, nothing to see, and then suddenly Sprint Center at the time, now T-Mobile Center, it was constructed right over by that area called Power and Light, which is kind of Kansas City's version of Ballpark Village. It's the closest thing to it. They're kind of modeled after one another, except P&L is outdoor, Ballpark Village is indoor. Other than that, they're basically the same. Everything else was constructed around that. Like, that was the first thing in, and then they just started building. And I do think there is a scenario in which St. Louis can do something similar. I think it should be that way. You've got Union Station. You've got the new soccer stadium down there, Busch Stadium, and what's been built up around that. Like, there is a chance to make downtown St. Louis really cool. The Arch Grounds, what they're doing over there right now, I think is going to be super helpful in this regard. It should not be what it is, and I do think there is a chance that it could be something better, but got to do the investing, man, and that's a different conversation for a different day. But I think they can do it. They just need to get it done. And as you saw this weekend, once you get it done, boy, is it cool. And there is so much that you can do, and there are businesses that will come. There are local coffee shops and breweries and distilleries and bars and all kinds of stuff that can go in. You got to build it first for them to want to do.
And there were aspects that reminded me of St. Louis, like cool breweries that you could go to. There's cool breweries here. There's cool ones in KC, cool restaurants, a distillery. That's a cool spot to go check out. Like, there was a lot of it that it kind of reminded me of it, but it reminded me of not downtown St. Louis. It reminded me of St. Louis County, not downtown St. Louis. And that's the difference here, where, I mean, you were truly in downtown Kansas City.
It's more like going over to the Loop or going to...
well, this trolley worked.
Yeah, it's a streetcar.
Bad.
It's that kind of thing, right? Where you've got like a street that has just a bunch of different stuff to do. It's all walkable. Yeah. So I think St. Louis can still get there. It's just going to take some time.
I'll say this. When I went to Memphis, I was ready to come back to work. I went to Kansas City. I was like, man, I really don't want to go back on Monday. I've really enjoyed my time here.
Alongside T-Bone and Bradford, I'm BK. You've got BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. How much blame does Oli Marmol deserve for the frustrating week that the Cardinals have had? If you listen to social media, he deserves the brunt of it. I don't know that we necessarily view it that way. We'll talk about why next here on 101 ESPN.
Get social with 101 ESPN. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, Threads, Blue Sky, and YouTube at 101 ESPN.
WXOS, WXOS HD1 East St. Louis, 101 ESPN is driven by Brown and Crouppen Law Firm. This is exactly where you want to be listening to us. It's BK and Ferrario on 101 ESPN.
So there's a lot of criticism for Oli Marmol coming out of the weekend on some of the decisions that he made. Just overall, I think people are frustrated with the direction that things have gone over the last week, T-Bone. And that's dating back to some of the extra innings, the pitch count limits that they're going through right now with Kiley. And you look at it, man, you've lost 4 of your last 5 and 5 out of your last 7. This is going to happen when you're losing the way that you are. You're in the midst of a playoff race, even one that was unexpected. The manager ends up getting criticism. I think Oli understands that. I think everybody understands that. The question, though, is how much of that is fair? How much criticism is fair for Oli Marmol? Like, if you had a different guy in there, how many of these decisions would have been different? I think that's kind of a good way to frame it, in my opinion. And my honest-to-God answer is not much. And this is not me caping for Oli. I mean, you guys have heard it. I've criticized him in the past where I disagree with the decision or I disagree with something that the Cardinals are doing when it comes to pitcher deployment, whatever it is. I don't really have much right now that I can criticize them for. Now, if you want to get mad at Heim for some of the way that they've manipulated the roster in recent days or the lack of manipulation, I think there's at least more of a conversation to be had there. But when it comes to Oli's deployment of the roster, man, you just played 5 games in 4 days against Cincy on the road with a bullpen that was kind of fried just going in. And then you go to Philadelphia against a really good offense and gave yourself a real shot, probably should have won 2 of the 3 games. And you just had an inning that got away from you in both of them. I don't know how much I can realistically be mad at the manager for that. That, to me, felt more like the guys just didn't perform, and your roster's in a spot right now to where you were asking a little too much out of them. So that's where I come from, T-Bone, on this. Did you disagree with it?
No, I understand some maybe of the criticism of keeping O'Brien in the game for 40 pitches in that loss. But even then, like, it's kind of tough for me because, like, look, you could see O'Brien didn't have it, but it's not like you had Soriano, Stanek, or Gastelum or Brule available in the pen. Your answer was Graceffo, and I don't know about you guys. I don't feel comfortable with Graceffo coming into a clean inning, let alone when the game's on the line in the bottom of the 9th. So that would be the one spot I would kind of get it if you had criticism. Otherwise, like, I don't know what he was supposed to do, right? I mean, we've talked about it. The roster's very thin. On the pitching side, they are very thin. He's dealing with Kyle Leahy, who's on an innings limit to where he was at 60 pitches yesterday and he got pulled out of the game. And that's only going to go probably lower from here that's not going up, I don't think. So I don't know how you manage that. I don't know how you manage losing Dobbins in a game in the 4th inning or going out for the 5th inning, I guess I should say, so he completes 4 innings. Like, all those things are going to end up snowballing. And to me, he played it all right. He went to their big guns, and guys didn't perform. You know, I had some of an issue with the way that they were playing Cesar Prieto before I left for vacation, before they made that move at third base. They've made that move, you know, and that was kind of a front office decision. And I'll be honest, I don't even blame much on Heim for this, you know. I get it. They had some potential options to maybe select to the 40-man and bring up here down the minor leagues. I don't know that they're great options. Now, sure, it would have been giving him a fresh arm, which kind of helps out and prevents that significant snowball that occurred. But I don't think those really change it. I think if you want somebody to blame, I'll give you your boogeyman. And it's the guy you loved blaming in the past. It's John Mozeliak. I mean, Mozeliak's the one that let this pitching dry up to the point that it's at now. Heim couldn't fix that in 1 offseason in Charms. You couldn't fix that in 2 if you're counting last year when he was here. Fixing a pitching pipeline takes like 3 or 4 years. And that's why they're in the whatever they want to call it. It's because the pitching pipeline's dried up. So I don't blame Heim. I would get it if you had some critiques of the roster management, but I think those are so small, and I don't think they impact the roster significantly. I don't blame Oli for the way he managed it. I blame the previous guy who's in Anaheim now, John Mozeliak, for allowing this pipeline to really dry up on the pitching side.
Can we get into a couple of moves that I just found to be interesting over the weekend?
Sure.
So the bottom of the 10th inning, Cardinals are up 6-5. Fermin had singled in Burleson in the top of the 10th. You're winning that game. You've got Luis Gastelum on the mound. Wynn comes in at shortstop, and you're trying to finish that thing there. At that point, you have, I believe, who was it that ended up being the runner there? It was Harper. Harper was the runner at second. I would have potentially, now I know people disagree with this and I get it, but I would have potentially walked Arise to open up that inning to set up a potential double play ball. It wouldn't have mattered. It was a triple on the next at bat, so they would have won either way. But that was one thing that I would have considered. The reason being, you didn't want to go to the 11th. You wanted to either win or lose that thing right there. And this gives me a higher probability, in my opinion, of winning it in regulate or in the 10th inning, or potentially losing it. So you're putting an extra runner on. That runner would have been the game-winning run. You're choosing to do that, but the contact rate from Arise, I thought it was incredibly likely in that spot that Harper ends up at third with one out potentially. And in that spot, even in a best-case scenario, you're probably going to end up in the 11th inning, and in a worst-case scenario, you're losing anyways. So that was one spot that I was curious about your perspective when it comes to just the managerial tactic.
Yeah, and see, I have no issue with pitching to Arise. And look, I get what you're saying about his contact. I'm not intentionally putting the winning run on base.
I get it.
You know, to me, you've got to earn it. I mean, even though he's
I thought that was a 50-50 proposition. I would have understood either decision. I leaned more the walk.
Even though he's a guy that is a contact guy, all right, so 31% chance he gets on based on his batting average, right? His batting average is 310.
But that we're talking about as well, you got to take into considering not just a hit. I'm taking into consideration him putting a ball in play that results in Bryce Harper getting to third. That run is super valuable there because you had nothing left in your bullpen at that point because you had already gone 4 innings with Dobbins that day. So you had Ferguson, Graceffo, Brule, and at this point, Gastelum. Your bullpen was fried. You had nothing left.
Yeah, but I don't even think you really increase your chances as much by putting the winning run on base. I get what you're saying about setting up the double play ball. I don't want to put the winning run on to where, I mean, it didn't ultimately matter as we saw with the triple, but I want that guy to earn his way on base as the winning run rather than just saying, all right, go take your base. And they believe that Gastelum stuff plays better against lefties than it does righties. So I have no issue with the way that they approach that situation because I wouldn't have walked Arise in that spot. I would pitch to him, see if you can get him out, and then hopefully feel better about Bowman Stott. But, of course, we know what happened.
The other spot, now this one I had zero criticism of, but I understood that there were some people that were frustrated by it. That was the Friday spot, what we just discussed there. Ultimately lose that one in 10 innings, 7-6 on the walk-off. Yesterday was Schwarber up. Now, you're tied 4-4. De La Cruz had just singled in Sosa. Schwarber comes up. You're turning over the order. You've got your right-handed reliever in the game and Riley O'Brien going up against Schwarber in that spot. Schwarber on the season has a high punch-out rate. However, he's a guy that slugs .530 against right-handed pitchers. Now, he's been just as good against lefties, to be fair, but that guy has been awesome. 900 OPS overall on the year. Would you have considered walking him to get to Turner instead? Take your shot against Turner, who on the year against righties is batting .258 with a .420 slug, .715 OPS instead of the 900 OPS against Schwarber.
I think that one's fair because that run for Schwarber ultimately doesn't matter.
Correct.
So
the runner that you're putting now into scoring position does. And he's more likely to score from second than he would have been for anything other than a potential like really hard hit double by Schwarber.
Yeah, that one I get a little bit more. Considering O'Brien didn't really have it, I probably would have walked Schwarber in hindsight because it's clear he doesn't have it, so I'd rather go with the platoon advantage where Turner's worse against righties than Schwarber. I think that one's fair, even though you make a good point. You are moving him in the scoring position, so you have to bet on not giving up a hit in that spot, essentially. But I would rather go probably to Trey Turner there, but I can understand the thought process from Oli not to put that winning run into scoring position.
Yeah, that's one that I had less criticism of, honestly, and the reason being, like, Schwarber, you brought up the average thing. Schwarber hits .240. 3 out of every 5 times, that dude doesn't record a hit there. And if he doesn't record a hit, I'm fine because there's 2 outs. On Friday, there was, I think, either 1 out or no outs, if I remember correctly. No outs because that was leading off the inning. So that one, to me, I want to set up the double play ball. And even if you don't get a hit there, if you put it in play and it's able to move the runner over, that had value for the Phillies. Yesterday in the Schwarber at-bat, you had to record a hit. Otherwise, game over. Or I guess a walk in that spot, but that just ends up with the exact same scenario that you were looking at previously. tough spots either way. I don't think either one of them was a clear cut. You've got to do this versus that. And ultimately, they just hit the wrong button both times.
Well, and with O'Brien at 35 pitches when that at bat starts, can I really assume O'Brien's still effective? I mean, let's be honest, he wasn't effective in that outing. He was wild. You could tell his command was off. I don't know if the equation even really changed. In fact, the numbers actually should have gone up in favor of Trey Turner, even though I know what he is against right-handed pitching. How often do you run into a closer with 35 pitches? Never. So I don't think they had a right answer. By the time he doesn't get guys out and it becomes a spot where Schwarber's coming up, yeah, you didn't have a right answer in that situation.
Alongside T-Bone and Bradford on BK, in or out, coming up next here on 101 ESPN.
You can now listen to 101 ESPN on demand. Get caught up on all our shows and podcasts at 101ESPN.com or on the 101 mobile app. 101 ESPN podcasts are presented by the Schaefer Door Company. TMA? Then nominate yourself to be the Morning After Listener of the Month, and you could be selected and score a Form Energy prize pack. Sign up now at 101ESPN.com or TMASTL.com. The TMA Listener of the Month Club is presented by Form Energy. We do the work. They are St. Louis. It's BK and Ferrario on 101 ESPN. Come on, man. Are you in or are you out? It's in or out with BK and Ferrario.
314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line for in or out. You guys give us a scenario. We will tell you if we are in or out on BK and Ferrario. All right, T-Bone, let's start out with this one. Going over to a little NFL football for you here on BK and Ferrario. In or out, the winner of the NFC South will have at least 10 wins this year.
I'll say out. They're pretty good at making a theme of not getting to 10 wins to win their division. I think that will hold true this year because you get, 6 games against your division. Most of these teams are probably going to go like 4-2. The winner will probably go 4-2 at best. They're not beating most of the other teams on their schedule. So I will say out. I think to win that division, it's going to take just 9.
You have to show me double digits. I'm out as well. I don't honestly know if I would take at present, late in August, Carolina or Tampa Bay. I can't possibly see either team getting past 9. 8's going to be a push for me. 8's going to be tough. No way.
8, 9, 10, and 8 were the winners' ultimate end of season numbers over the last 4 years. I'm going to say not. I'm going to say out. I'm out on this one as well. I think it's 9 wins, and I think I'm going to go New Orleans as the winner for this division this year.
That's fun.
I don't have a lot of confidence in that answer, but I think they're ultimately going to be my pick. I'll have Atlanta at the bottom.
I would have
agree with that.
considered more of that if not for some major injuries in just the past couple of weeks.
For New Orleans?
Yeah. I know AK isn't the same guy. No, not the same guy. Think about the wideout core now. If you lose Tyson for a significant period of time, yes, you still have Olave.
That's a big one.
Show me more as well, Tyler Shuck.
Let's be honest. Is Olave really going to be healthy all year? Probably not.
Probably not.
Yeah. My bet today would be Tampa, but I don't feel great about that. I think as long as you don't pick Atlanta, I'd hear your argument.
Travis Etienne, I think, is going to add something to the offense. I think they needed some juice, and they've got it with him. I think the defense is going to be solid, if unspectacular.
Okay.
And that might just be enough. Like, seriously, in that division, that
could be.
legitimately might be enough. I mean, Carolina last year, they didn't have a great defense, but they were fine. And it was good enough to get them to the playoffs with the worst offense in the division. Ooh. T-Bone, what do you got for us?
Guys, we've talked a lot about contract extensions. We've talked about Alec Burleson. If I were to set him aside, in or out, Rhinell Rodriguez would be number 2 on that list as a contract extension candidate.
I said over the weekend on Twitter, I think I've convinced myself that they should extend Jordan Walker, so I'll say out. I think Walker should be second on that list.
Let me echo your sentiments. I love the idea of, hey, let's not go. Why not go with both? But as far as most viable right away, get it done and get it done fast with Jordan Walker.
Yeah, I think I lean out as well because I would put Walker probably ahead of him because he's got the big league production. I think it was Keith Law that said if you wait another year, he just becomes more expensive and it gets more costly. The reason I throw Rodriguez up here is because we're talking about a guy that's going to be 20 at AAA next year and potentially is up here by 21. So if you go through the ARB system, assuming there's no changes in the ARB system, he's a free agent by like 27, 28,
Correct.
Somewhere in that range, depending on how they do it. That screams a guy that could potentially be a contract extension candidate. And we've seen teams start to make this more of a popular thing. If there's a minor leaguer that they would be having conversation with, I think he'd be number 1 on that list. But I agree with you. I would say out. Walker to me would be probably ahead of him.
We had a lot to track over the weekend, guys, but this is interesting to me. Quick golf detour for you. So the BMW Championship just drew over 155,000 fans in total. Economic windfall for St. Louis in the neighborhood of $50 million. So in or out, what just happened at Belle Reve puts St. Louis in the PGA's tour more regularly moving forward.
I saw that they're looking at one, I think it's like 5 years down the road. Is that right?
The President's Cup is confirmed. I'm saying maybe on an every other year basis. You heard what Jim Nantz had said, the reputation now growing.
Shouldn't
certainly.
that have happened after the PGA Championship?
You would think.
If it was going to take place?
I would have agreed. I would have agreed.
Now it's multiple times, so maybe. I think it makes sense. I think St. Louis is a great sports town in general. I think it's a great event town. Like, if you have a big event, St. Louisans are going to show up. They did it for the PGA. They have done it for the gymnastics in the past when they do that
Figure skating was big.
It's huge. We've just seen this repeatedly. It's no longer a surprise. If you do something and you make it big, like, they'll come out and support it in a massive way. So anything that's a competition, especially here in St. Louis, you're going to have a massive gathering. So, yeah, I'm in. I think it should happen. I think it could happen. It's all just up to the PGA, though, and I don't know how they view it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I would say in. I think what BK said, though, about it's up to the PGA and how they view it, that's the one thing that would make me hesitate of saying in. Nothing to do with St. Louis. I mean, you read off those numbers. That's impressive for them to be going out there for a golf tournament. And I feel like golf's really big here in St. Louis, so I don't know why the PGA wouldn't do more. But I'll say in. I'll say ultimately it will eventually come true that they will be here like every other year.
Clearly, I'm in as well, although I probably need a couple of years to recover from the weekend. That was rough on your boys' orthopedic situation. Yeah.
Oh.
Followed Rory for the majority of the time. I'm paying for it. It was electric. It was fantastic. Seriously.
Did you go to the PGA Championship?
I went to, the third round, so I didn't see the Koepka Woods showdown in round 4, but I was there in 18 too.
How did it compare?
I think, honestly, in terms of population, in terms of quantity, and the quality of the experience, night and day compared to about 8 years ago, the way the course was not expanded, but the different interactive elements, so much more 8 years later. Oh, yeah. Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
I was curious because I was there for the PGA Championship. I was not able to get out there this weekend, but that's good to hear. Yeah, it looked great on television. So fingers crossed that it does amount to something more. All right, 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for in or out. You guys give us a scenario. We will tell you if we are in or out here on BK and Ferrario. This one comes from Gabe DeArmond over on Twitter real quick.
He's listening to the show. Thanks, Gabe.
He said, rank for me in order your top 5 Mizzou games that you're most excited for this year. In or out, Ole Miss is the game that you're most excited for this Mizzou football season. And take that in any consideration that you'd like. You can
We're not
have
just
whatever
limiting
criteria.
it to home, that's a road game. Never mind.
Yep.
Oh, I'm going to that game. What am I talking about? Oh, boy.
In or out, that's the game you're most interested in this year.
Man.
I had that at number 1 for me.
Oh.
So I'm trying to think.
It's close, but...
Why? Can I ask real quick why it's number 1 for you?
Couple of different factors.
Try not to let this skew my opinion.
1, great venue. Ole Miss is a great spot to be able to watch a game.
I'm glad to hear that. I'm going.
2, you'll have a blast. 2, a program that's expected to be very good. 3, midway through the season, still should have some high hopes for the remainder of the year. 4, a team that has a special quarterback, big-time expectations, chance for Eli Drinkwitz to get a big win under his belt. So for all of those different factors, that's why I would put it at the top of the list for me.
Yeah, I was originally thinking Texas A&M was number 1 for me. And the reason for that...
That's not in my top 5.
Well, to be fair, I'm not a Missouri fan, so if you want to be honest, I can think of 12 different Illinois games that are bigger and better. The reason I said that is, 1, it's the first real showdown for Missouri, and it happens to be on your home field against Texas A&M, who I think, even if you don't believe in their quarterback, is still going to be a very good football team this year. I view Ole Miss as like a huge wild card, and I could see a scenario where they lose to LSU. Who else they have on their schedule? I think they open with Louisville. I could see where they've already got 2 losses. Maybe they even suffer a 3rd surprise like at Vanderbilt. And that game's not as meaningful for them, And I think that's the thing that you have to have in this. That's why I would say A&M. I think A&M is a very good team. They will still be a team that's going to have playoff aspirations by the time they get to you, and it's on your home field, which makes it feel bigger since it's closer here in St. Louis. That's why I would put A&M at number 1.
The Aggies matchup is always appealing to me. You also think about between the hedges, Georgia, how can you go wrong there? Ole Miss is a very close number 2 for me because I love the notion, the idea of a Chambliss-Simmons head-to-head showdown at QB. But I'm thinking about 3 weeks later. I'm thinking about at Memorial Stadium. I want to see Texas head in there on November the 7th. Arch Manning, let's see what you've got. Let's see where Missouri is at that juncture. It's Texas 1, Ole Miss 2.
My top 5, at Ole Miss is number 1, Oklahoma 2, Texas 3, at KU 4. First real game of the season, rival, all that stuff.
At first I looked at Kentucky. I was like, why is Kentucky there?
No, at Kansas. And number 5, at Georgia. Those would be my top 5 heading into the season. It's a fun schedule, tough schedule for Mizzou this year. From the 636, guys, in or out? If the Cardinals get an ace this offseason, call up Bernal and fix the bullpen, they'll be competing for a division title next year. That's all they got to do, T-Bone. Get an ace, call up Bernal, fix the bullpen. Do all of that in an abbreviated offseason, they'll be competing for the division title next year.
That seems simple enough.
Out. They could compete for a playoff spot if they did all that.
I agree.
I think they're still another arm or 2 away. And I think I do think there's a case to be made to go out there and try and find an ace this offseason to kind of accelerate the timeline. And, let's just be honest, if you can get an 8, I think asking them to develop 3 top-end arms out of their system feels like too much. I think they have to go externally to add at least 1 and hope that you develop the other 2. But if you just did that, I'm out. Milwaukee's still going to be good. The Cubs will still be around. I think you can be a playoff team, not division winner.
Yeah, my thing is just the Brewers are too good right now. You've got too much ground to pick up. So, yeah, out.
It's a lovely idea, but listening is key, kids. You said division, so I'm out.
In or out, no Chiefs players should be taken in the first 3 rounds of a 12-team fantasy draft. Out.
Please.
Out.
Yeah,
Kenneth
out.
Walker is a guy that you should be taken back into the first, early second round.
I agree. Now, he's probably the only one right? Because I'd go a little bit later for Mahomes. Kelsey, I think
he's probably the only one. Maybe Rashee Rice. I don't know where he's going right now in fantasy draft. So
if you're really PPR heavy, perhaps you could make an argument for that.
Yeah, I would say Walker. I'm out on this because I think it's Kenneth Walker for sure. I would definitely be taking him top 3 rounds, probably early second, late first, as you said. But I think he's the only one for me that I would take in the top 3 rounds.
How high does he go for you, BK? Kenneth Walker, that is right now, because it seems kind of in vogue to be fading him at the moment.
Rashee's going top 15 in PPR leagues, by the way. Kenneth Walker is going 24th in PPR drafts. Yeah, I would take him ahead of that. I would take Kenneth Walker. Right now, he's going behind Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, and Ashton Genty. I would take him ahead of all those guys.
Yeah, I would definitely take him ahead of Genty. Henry, you saw last year.
I'd rather have Kenneth Walker than Devon Achane. Given the respective offenses. I've got more opportunities for touchdowns.
Achane's going to get a ton of touches because he's going to be involved in the passing game, but I think I agree with you.
But I've seen running backs on terrible teams. It ain't great.
Yeah.
Even before the injury news, I can't believe Genty's a part of that group. No.
Me too. I'd rather have Kenneth Walker.
I can get the Saquon one just because of name recognition. Like that one makes sense.
Henry
makes sense. Henry, though, was the first year where you saw some signs of kind of losing it a little bit.
In or out, Cards are a World Series contender in 2028.
Hell yeah. And
I hope so.
I can't stand this bad baseball. I'm sorry. Like, I know they've been in the playoff race. This was one of those weekends that reminded me, I hate this rebuild, retool, building, whatever we're calling it.
But just a couple of minutes ago, counterintuitive. Oh, the heck with it. In.
Coming up next, Mark Mitchell heading to Kentucky. How does this impact the way Mizzou fans are going to remember him? We'll talk about it next year on BK and Ferrario.
101 ESPN is powered by Kaufman Townsley, St. Louis's injury lawyers. Call 314-777-7777.
That's 314-777-7777.
101 ESPN has your chance to win a pair of tickets for the St. Louis Blues home opener versus the San Jose Sharks, October 8th at Enterprise Center. Blues hockey's right around the corner. Single game tickets for the 2026-27 season are on sale now. This upcoming Blues season is stacked with great matchups, can't miss giveaways, and fan favorite theme nights. Get more details and enter to score that pair of free tickets for the Blues home opener right now at 101ESPN.com or on your 101 app.
Hey, it's BK, and it's time for you to unlock your inner champion. You can do so with our friends at Victory Men's Health. Check them out today. They have locations across the St. Louis area, and you can read all about the services that they have to offer at VictoryMen'sHealth.com. That's where you can learn about the testosterone optimization, weight loss goals that you're trying to meet. They can help you out with that. They can also help you with sexual health. For me, I went over there for their supplement shop. I was able to find out where all of my different micronutrient levels were at. And they put together a personalized plan for me to unlock my inner champion over there at Victory Men's Health. If they can do it for me, they can do it for you. Put in your name, email, phone number, tell them BK with 101 ESPN sent you, and then tell them what it means for you to unlock your inner champion. They'll start with an initial visit that has a consultation with a licensed medical provider. They'll do all that lab work for you, find out where all of your different levels are at, and then they'll put together that personalized plan for you. Do it today at Victory Men's Health and online at VictoryMen'sHealth.com.
Check out the Last Minute Blues podcast with Alex Ferrario, Donnie Fandango, and Jeremy Rutherford on 101 ESPN. The guys bring you the latest news and notes on your St. Louis Blues. Watch or listen to the Last Minute Blues podcast on our YouTube channel or at 101ESPN.com. 101 ESPN Sports Center.
Redbirds regroup after a grueling road trip. I'm Bradford Bruns. Your Sports Center update is driven by Universal Windows Direct. Tomorrow night, St. Louis will come back to Busch Stadium for the first time since August 12th. Cardinals-Orioles getting underway at 6:45. Matthew Liberatore starting opposite Baltimore righty Chris Bassett. Philadelphia just completed a 3-game sweep of Oli Marmol's club. Meanwhile, better pitch results stemming from Energizer Park. City SC defeats Houston 2-1. Yohan Dumay's squad has not lost in nearly 4 months. NFL, Deshaun Watson winning Cleveland's starting quarterback gig. His first 2 assignments occur away from Huntington Bank Field. This Sports Center update was supplied by Universal Windows Direct. You'll be saying, I love my windows.
Giving you the picture, the real big St. Louis sports picture. It's BK and Ferrario on 101 ESPN.
Alongside T-Bone and Bradford, I'm BK. So over the weekend, we got the official confirmation. Mark Mitchell is transferring to the University of Kentucky. The former Mizzou power forward is going to be playing his final, we think, college basketball season for Big Blue. And T-Bone, there were some Mizzou fans that were none too pleased about it. Some were mad about Mizzou not being able to retain his services. A lot were mad that Mark Mitchell would go play for somebody else. I don't have it in me. And I don't know if this is a me problem or I don't know, but I just can't be frustrated at a kid who is probably going to make $5+ million this year to go play at Kentucky in one of the most historic arenas in the world in what is very likely going to be his swan song as a college basketball player. I appreciate everything he did in his time at Mizzou. His first team at Mizzou was a hell of a lot of fun to watch, and he's going to go down as one of the better players of this era for Mizzou basketball. I don't know, man. It doesn't really do much for me that he's playing at Kentucky. Will he be remembered a little differently? I mean, I guess, but it's not as though this was an all-time great Mizzou basketball player. This isn't, Ricky Paulding going somewhere else or Kareem Rush going somewhere else or Marcus Denman going somewhere else. Those guys were all-time great players that played Damari Carroll going on to play somewhere else. Those guys had moments in the NCAA tournament. They were, remembered fondly for their entire career happening at Mizzou. That's not Mark Mitchell. It never was Mark Mitchell. He started his career elsewhere to begin with anyway. So I don't have the same level of visceral reaction to this as I think a lot of Mizzou fans seemed to based upon my social media account over the weekend.
Yeah, I don't know that I understand the Missouri fans and their kind of disgust of him going to play for Kentucky because, I mean, look, like you said, he was a good player for Missouri last year. We're not talking about an all-time great for him. And the thing that I don't understand is I would get some of the frustration if we were talking about Missouri having a bad offseason or a lack of good recruiting out of the high school ranks. This is arguably Dennis Gates' best roster that he's been able to build up. Now, we'll see what it looks like when they get on the court, but he's had major success recruiting at the high school level. I think he did a fairly good job in the portal this year, and this just happened to become a weird circumstance that I don't think anybody could have foreseen happening a year ago, that you were suddenly going to have guys that went 4 years and then were able to sue and get a fifth because of the rules that the NCAA passed. So I don't understand any frustration. Look, I get he's going to a rival in Kentucky, but I like where the roster's at for Missouri. So I don't get the anger, and good for Mark Mitchell to be able to come back. Guy that didn't get an NBA deal is going to get a fifth year in college, where, let's be honest, even if he did get an NBA deal, it's probably going to be a G League deal. He's going to make more playing here in college basketball. So good for Mark Mitchell to get his last kind of payday at the collegiate level at Kentucky.
And BK, what's the most common denominator there regarding all of the past MU icons, program icons you mentioned? If not all of them, basically four-year guys, right? The fact of the matter is that Mark Mitchell started elsewhere. Yes, he gave you two illustrious seasons last year individually. He was terrific. He expanded his repertoire too. But I do understand the frustration among fans because you want right now what you can't possibly have, and it's going to hurt come January the 9th, okay, at Mizzou Arena when he comes in with Big Blue. But you can't fault the young man. You can't fault the program. Somehow, some way, Kentucky had that 15th and final roster spot available. I don't think by any stretch of the imagination, you can basically accost Dennis Gates in this situation. What, you're going to have the foresight to think that all of this would have transpired in the interim? No, it just doesn't make any sense. You're PO'd basically, you're perturbed in the here and now, and in theory, you should be very excited about the roster on paper going into next season. But Mark Mitchell was that known commodity, so I get the anxiety.
Who do you think will be remembered more fondly for their time at Mizzou? Damari Carroll or Mark Mitchell?
Damari Carroll.
I agree.
No doubt.
He was a 2-year guy. He was a transfer in from Vandy. But I think he's going to be remembered more fondly because he had, what I guess we'll call it playoff success. He had tournament success with the team.
Yes.
They went on a run, whereas this team did not. Who do you think will be remembered more fondly for their time at Mizzou? Jabari Brown? T-Bun, you might not even remember that name.
I don't remember Damari Carroll. So
well, you were like 3. Jabari Brown or Mark Mitchell?
Mark Mitchell, actually.
I think so, too.
Because those teams, aside from obviously Brown and certainly Jordan Clarkson, they were decidedly mediocre. Okay.
Oh, no, that's not true. That's not true. That team for Mizzou was pretty good.
They were not leaps and bounds better than the last year's installment. No
That's
way.
right.
No,
That's right.
no.
Last year's team was all that good, to be fair. I mean, I watched their tournament game. I was in attendance for yuck.
Yeah. Jabari Brown was a really good player, though.
He got on some heaters. It was fun. It was fun.
A really good
What year
basketball
was this?
player.
I have no.
2013-ish? 2013, 2014?
Mid-2010s.
Norfolk State?
No, that was earlier.
You didn't get to that point.
This was
I
Frank
remember that
Haith
team.
Those
after the Phil Pressey, that year.
Faith
Kim
and Haith,
English,
or
Marcus
not.
Denman, team that went 7 deep. Lost one of their best players before the start of the season. Would have went 8 deep and probably would have went to the Final Four. But we don't have to talk about that right now. Mark Mitchell, if you're just looking, Mark Mitchell versus Kobe Brown.
Well, that's a good one. Still Kobe. I would actually lean
I think
Kobe.
so, too. Mm-hmm. And I think that was even before this.
I agree.
Like, I think Kobe Brown was just a more fondly remembered player, at least for me.
His development story was fun.
It was cool.
There for 4 years. I think I would agree. I would go Kobe Brown. Now, he didn't put up the points that Mitchell put up last year, but Kobe was a hell of a player and really developed. I mean, he's an NBAer, right? I think he's on the Pacers NBA right player. Now. Yeah. So, I'd say Kobe Brown.
I would say over the last, 5-ish years, Mark Mitchell probably 2 behind Kobe. Is there anybody else that I'm forgetting?
In the last 5, yes. Mm-hmm. Yep.
That compares to what Mark Mitchell was? Because Mark was a hell of a player for Mizzou. Yeah. It's going to suck to not have him there. Tamar Bates was a really good player for Mizzou.
I'd take Mitchell over him.
I think so, too. But, I think that's kind of where you're at with him.
I think you have 1, 2, 3. Bates probably slots in at 3.
I think that's probably correct,
Yeah.
Alongside T-Bone and Bradford, I'm BK. It's BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. We'll hit the rewind next on BK and Ferrario.
The NFL preseason is on ESPN. Friday, Eagles and Bengals. Pregame at 6:30, kickoff at 7. Your destination for the NFL in St. Louis is 101 ESPN. Back to more of it. It's BK and Ferrario on 101 ESPN. Let's run it back with a daily rewind on BK and Ferrario. Brought to you by Gloria Loom, your home sold guaranteed realty. Selling your home begins at gloriahasthebuyers.com.
Hey, if you guys missed anything from today's show, be sure to check it out on the podcast page, 101ESPN.com, and the free 101 ESPN app is where you go to find it. It's all sponsored by Schaefer Door Company. I didn't know if you were ready for it or not.
Well, for a moment, it took me a second to remember
so
who
I just
it
went
was.
for it.
I had it.
That 101 ESPN app is free to download, super easy to use. It is sponsored by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. You can always check out the full show on YouTube as well, youtube.com/101ESPN-STL. To finish out where we started today, T-Bone, Cardinals unfortunately swept over the weekend in Philadelphia, 2 of those coming via walk-off. What did we learn about the Cardinals? Where do things stand today, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think where things stand, they're out of the playoff picture. I know they're about 5.5 games back of the Phillies. It's over, in my opinion. I think this was the nail in the coffin, especially when you add in, we learned how thin their roster is over the weekend. I mean, they lose Hunter Dobbins due to injury. Andre Palante went on the IL before that series, and they're now scrambling to figure out how they're going to cover innings. And you've got that on top of the fact that Kyle Leahy's dealing with a innings limit, not injury, but an innings limit, and a bullpen that's very shaky. And those guys are starting to feel it down there. So I think you learned over the weekend, it's done. Getting swept was like the worst case scenario for them, and it happened. So I think their playoff hopes are done. And 2, I think it's going to be something. It'd be a minor miracle to see how they handle this over the next 2 weeks till Palante comes back. I don't know how they handle. They're in a pitching crisis right now, and it's like the second time it's occurred this season. So their roster's extremely thin. I think they're probably going to have to go outside the organization to cover innings, which hopefully is just not Miles Michaelis would be all I say.
Yeah, I wonder what they decide to do with that. We haven't discussed the options, but it's limited. Lance McCullers, Michael Lorenzen, Miles Michaelis, Herman Marquez, Marco Gonzalez. Those are a few names that have been brought up out there as potential free agent acquisitions. You could also dip into the AAA ranks and go with Josh Fleming. He was a career reliever and a failed one at that, who's now adjusted to becoming a starter. Not typically the way that you go, but, here we are. Pete Hansen has actually been pretty decent this year at AAA, so maybe they just give him a shot. Cooper Jerpy is still on his innings limit. I don't think that's the direction they go, but maybe, who knows? Durangelo Senja, I don't think you want to start his clock right now. I don't think he's ready. Mason Molina, same thing. Brant Thompson, he's kind of been going up and down between AA and AAA. Maybe now he just gets the call up to the bigs. I don't know. They're in a tough spot. They really need one more starter. The nice thing for them, it sounds as though it's basically for 10 days. Once you get the end of this 15-day IL, the expectation is, according to everything that's been said by the Cardinals, they'll have Andre Palante back on the mound. And if they do, all right, so it's basically 2 starts you need from somebody else. But you do need those 2 starts between now and then, and I don't know where they're coming from.
Yeah, and you're going to need innings from those 2 starts, right? I mean, Kyle Leahy's probably going 4 and dive at this point, would be my guess. And it's not like you can count on Matthew Liberatore or Quinn Matthews to be guys that can go very deep. So, whoever that is that gets brought in here, the old thing Ollie said about, who was it, Jared Schuster or Bruce Zimmerman, hey, we need 150 pitches. Yeah, they might need 150 pitches again from this guy. They are going to need him to be able to eat innings and not go out there and get clobbered and be done in 2.
Cardinals off tonight, and boy, do they need it. Back in action tomorrow against the Baltimore Orioles. We'll discuss that tomorrow. Alex back in with us. Appreciate Bradford for stepping in today. For Tanner and Bradford, I'm BK. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 11 a.m. The Fast Lane is next here on 101 ESPN.